Chapter 1963. Who could hurt you like this? Ningxi couldn't help but ask. Well, let's not talk about it. Han Xiao didn't seem to want to continue the topic. Great God, you're so awesome. How could you be hurt like this? Lu Jingli looked at Han Xiao and asked recklessly. Brat, I was attacked while I was asleep. Han Xiao rolled his eyes. Great God, you're so awesome. How could you be attacked? Lu Jingli was very puzzled. I'm so awesome. Do you believe I can kill you with one palm? Han Xiao stared at Lu Jingli. Great God, the guy who attacked you is a bastard. As the saying goes, an honest man doesn't do underhanded things, especially in a duel of life and death between gods like you. How could he use such a despicable method? Lu Jingli's face was full of hatred. Ningxi, who is this? Han Xiao looked at Ningxi in confusion. My brother-in-law was scared by your white tiger just now. I'm a bit talkative, don't mind. Ningxi's mouth twitched slightly. By the way, how did you get brought here by a tiger? Ningxi asked the question in her heart. That's my friend. Han Xiao yawned. Albino Bengal tiger. Has been with me since I was a child, 7 years. Ningxi was a bit speechless. She really guessed correctly. It was indeed a beast raised by this pervert. Hey, where's my white tiger? Han Xiao suddenly realized that the white tiger wasn't here and looked around. Why didn't you let my white tiger in? Han Xiao asked in surprise. She held her forehead helplessly. Please, Almighty, not everyone is as perverted as you. That's a beast you're rearing. Think with your toes. Who would dare to let a tiger into their house without knowing? What are you afraid of? My white tiger is smarter than humans. It won't bite you. Han Xiao immediately stood up and went out to find the white tiger. Let him rest, Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi nodded and quickly pulled Han Xiao back. Just lie down. Don't struggle anymore, please. The wound had just been disinfected and stitched. It couldn't move. If it got infected or the thread was broken, it would be very troublesome. I'll help you find it. Lu Tingxiao put on his coat. The person in front of him had saved Xiao Bao and Ningxi, so it was reasonable for him to help him. Follow me, Lu Tingxiao said to Lu Jingli. The bad news came so suddenly that Lu Jingli was about to cry. Brother, the Almighty needs help. Look at how badly he's injured. If he's thirsty or something, I can still help. Asking him to go out and find a giant white tiger in the middle of the night. He was practically his own brother. She was speechless. Sweetheart, let me go with you. Then he said to Lu Jingli, you stay at home and take care of the Almighty. Lu Jingli nodded like a rattledrum. Thus, only Lu Jingli and Han Xiao were left in the hall, staring at each other. Almighty that, can you teach me how to tame a tiger? Lu Jingli took the opportunity to ask. Han Xiao asked, a tiger needs to be tamed? Lu Jingli, in the dark night, the two of them searched everywhere for traces of the white tiger. If they didn't find it before dawn, the people in the town would be alarmed and there would be a riot. After searching for about 15 minutes, she stopped on a small hill. She shone the flashlight in front of them and immediately pulled Lu Tingxiao over. Look, Lu Tingxiao turned around and looked in the direction of the flashlight. A giant white tiger crouched on the ground, its eyes also staring at Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao. Chapter 1964. Be careful. Lu Tingxiao immediately shielded Ningxi behind him. Although he knew that Han Zhao's white tiger was very human-like, it was not difficult to tell from the white tiger carrying Han Xiao to this place and the white tiger's behavior after that. But almost instinctively, humans still maintained a certain degree of vigilance against the beast at the top of the food chain. Baby! Ningxi stared at the giant Bengal tiger and tried to call out softly. Hearing Ningxi's call, the white tiger seemed a little hesitant. It slowly stood up and actually wagged its long snowy tail at Ningxi. Lu Tingxiao looked at the white tiger and couldn't help but be amazed. Some of his friends abroad raised brown bears, lions, tigers, and leopards, but it was very rare to see such a human-like one. Soon, the white tiger walked to Lu Tingxiao and Ningxi's side and was very quiet. Baby, don't be afraid. Come home with us. Ningxi couldn't help but touch the white tiger. The white tiger shook its body and looked very docile. Baby is really great. He didn't expect that the method he used on Xiaobao would be effective on the white tiger. Of course, the most important thing was that she had Han Zhao's aura on her. He knew that he didn't mean any harm. It was Han Zhao's aura. Ningxi couldn't help but admire Han Xiao again. How'd he tame a beast at the top of the food chain like this? Let's go. Lu Tingxiao didn't dare to relax. He protected Ningxi from the side and walked in the direction of the flower house. Along the way, Ningxi couldn't help but look back at the white tiger. If the white tiger wasn't so big, Ningxi would have hugged it in her arms. Sweetheart, I also want to feed a white tiger. Ningxi couldn't help but say. Unless Han Xiao helps you tame it. Lu Tingxiao said. Ordinary cats and dogs were fine, but lions and tigers at the top of the food chain were best not to provoke them. Even if they were raised from young, when the tiger grew up, a little carelessness could lead to a tragedy. Ask him to help me tame it? I'm afraid I can't afford it. Ningxi shook her head. After she tamed Han Xiao, would it still be hers? But it was really too cute, too cute. Looking at the white tiger wagging its snowy tail and staring at her gently, Ningxi felt that her heart was about to be melted by this albino giant Bengal tiger. What kind of ferocious beast was this? It was simply a super cute mythological beast. Why raise a cat or a dog? If you want to raise a tiger, raise a tiger. Half an hour had passed by the time he returned to the garden house. Fortunately, the building was designed to have 2 doors. Otherwise, the albino Bengal tiger's body would not be able to squeeze in at all. Even so, it was not easy for the white tiger to enter the room. My mother, Lu Jingli, stared at the white tiger in the living room and felt his scalp go numb. Goosebumps rose all over his body. Occasionally, Lu Jingli's body would tremble under the white tiger's domineering gaze. If this thing suddenly became ferocious, even 100 of him wouldn't be enough to be smacked to death by that huge tiger paw. Little darling, be careful. Ever since Ningxi returned, she had been pestering the white tiger. Her hands kept touching the white tiger's body. That soft fur was simply extremely comfortable. The best hand feeling in history. Shake hands. Ningxi held white tiger's huge claws with both hands and touched the soft meat pad. It was a super enjoyment. What was surprising was that when the white tiger played with Ningxi, it took the initiative to withdraw its sharp claws into the meat pad, as if it was afraid of accidentally hurting Ningxi. My little darling, I really love you. It didn't take long for Ningxi to become familiar with the white tiger. She held the white tiger's head and kissed its forehead. Chapter 1965. But Lu Jingli looked at Ningxi as if she was a pervert. She said she was cute, and she even rubbed it. Han Xiao, I've made up my mind. Suddenly, Ningxi shouted at Han Xiao, who was eating a peach. Han Xiao looked at Ningxi in confusion. What? I've decided to adopt you, an albino Bengal white tiger. Don't thank me. Ningxi hugged half of the white tiger's body and didn't want to let go. Adopt my white tiger? Han Xiao was stunned and didn't understand the meaning of Ningxi's words. Are you dreaming? When Han Xiao came to himself, he curled his lips. She wanted to steal his white tiger and told him not to thank her. Was she a bandit? Brother Han Xiao. Ningxi softened. No way. Han Xiao refused directly. Grandpa Han Xiao. No way. There was still no room for negotiation. 100 KFC luxury buckets. Ningxi laughed. No. Han Xiao was unmoved. I'll give you a KFC. Ningxi made a ruthless move. 10,000 KFC. This time, Han Xiao finally resisted the temptation of KFC and didn't disarm and surrender. For a foodie, it was not easy. That night, Lu Jingli didn't sleep at all. It was not because he didn't want to leave the white tiger like Ningxi, but because he couldn't sleep well. If he slept in the middle of the night and died under the tiger's mouth, who could he blame? For a few days, Han Xiao lived and ate in the small building in the garden. Lu Tingxiao arranged everything so that Han Xiao could rest in peace. As for Ningxi, in order to spend a few more days with the white tiger, she couldn't wait to let Han Xiao live here. A week later, Han Xiao's injury was completely healed and he left with the white tiger. Before leaving, he took almost all the snacks and food in the small building in the garden on the pretext that the white tiger needed food. After Han Xiao left with the white tiger, Ning Shi suddenly realized what was going on. Damn it. She had never heard that a tiger could eat snacks. This foodie had no integrity at all. A few days later, Juz called Ning Shi and asked her to meet him at the private club last time. It was noon when they arrived at the place. In the private room, Juz saw Ning Shi come in and pulled the bench for her. Ning Shi was flattered. Thank you, Mr. Juz. Miss Ning Shi, you're welcome. If you can, can you call me Grandpa? Juz stared at Ning Shi and asked nervously. Hearing this, Ning Shi was stunned. This kind and amiable old man in front of him, who was also his idol, wanted him to call him Grandpa. He couldn't refuse this no matter what. Grandpa Juz. So, Ning Shi called out, Thank you. An indescribable expression appeared in Juz's turbid eyes. Why did you call me here today? Ning Shi asked. Oh, it's about the old version of the male killer, Carl. Juz returned to the main topic. Male assassin. Ning Shi remembered that in the movie The Assassin, there was a male assassin named Carl, who was also one of the important supporting roles. He was a cross-dressing assassin and had a good relationship with the female lead. The two of them often went out on assassination missions together. The background of Carl in the new script has been changed. He is a mysterious Oriental killer, a Chinese man, who is only inferior to the female assassin. Such a role is most suitable for finding actors in China. Juz explained. The new version of the assassin didn't change much, but it was just right. Ning Shi was also aware of this change. Chapter 1966. Do you want me to recommend a suitable Chinese actor? Ning Shi asked. Yes. Juz nodded. Ning Shi was surprised that Juz trusted her so much. Carl, the male assassin in the movie, was considered one of the most important characters. If any male actor in the country could play such a role, his status and identity would definitely rise. His importance was self-evident. But Juz gave her such an important role. If it's a cross-role killer, I think temperament and appearance should be very important, not to mention that it involve a cross-role story. In addition, to cater to the domestic film market, the actor should at least be an A-list actor. Among the actors I know, there is a suitable one. Ning Shi said cautiously after pondering for a moment. That's great. Juz took out a contract and handed it to Ning Shi. This is the contract. The salary and some details are all in the contract. Thank you, Juz said. Ning Shi was stunned again after taking the contract. Did he just give it to her? She only said a few words, didn't she? Wasn't he being a little too trusting of her? Out of caution, Ning Shi declined, but Juz trusted her very much and entrusted it to her politely. In the end, Ning Shi couldn't refuse and took the contract. After all, she was sure that the person she recommended would win. After leaving the private club, Ning Shi drove to a villa in the capital without delay and knocked on Jiang Mai's door. Jiang Mai was wearing pajamas and slippers. His hair was a bird's nest, and he was holding a game controller in his hand. When he opened the door and saw Ning Shi, he was stunned. It seemed that he didn't expect to see her. When he came to his senses, he said angrily, Hey, Aunt, what brings you here? He was still angry with this guy who valued his girlfriend more than his friends. Ning Shi didn't answer. She looked into the room and asked mysteriously, Is there anyone in there? Bullshit. Jiang Mai glared at her when he realized what she meant. Was he such a reckless man? Didn't you say that you have a date with a beautiful woman? I'm just afraid that I'll disturb your happiness. Knowing that Jiang Mai had no woman, Ning Shi didn't have any scruples. She directly pushed him away and swaggered into the room. Jiang Mai closed the door and dashed into the room. He quickly sat on the sofa and started playing games again with the game controller. Stop playing. I have something serious to talk to you about, Ning Shi said when she saw Jiang Mai playing the game enthusiastically. I'll tell you later. I've been fighting all night. I'm very nervous. Jiang Mai was unusually focused. You forced me to do this. Ning Shi stepped forward, not giving Jiang Mai any face. While Jiang Mai was unprepared, she directly unplugged the power of the game console. Jiang Mai jumped 3 feet high. Ning Xiaoxi, even if you give me a girl, I won't let you off today. Ning, she was speechless. Give your sister away. Dream on. But there is one good thing. What good can you have for me? I'm lucky that you didn't torture me. Jiang Mai snorted. I really have something important to tell you this time. I wanted to play a role. Ning, she said seriously. Role? What role? Jiang Mai finally became serious and looked at Ning, she in confusion. What role would Ning, she come to see him in person? Was there any role for him? Chapter 1967. A male killer, Ning, she said. Male assassin. Jiang Mai touched his chin. He actually quite liked the role of an assassin, who could act cool. A cross-dresser, Ning, she added. What's that? Jiang Mai was taken aback. A killer dressed as a woman. Ning, she explained in detail. The next second, Jiang Mai jumped up, pointed at Ning, she's nose, and shouted, Ning Xiaoxi, you pervert. You still don't want to give up. Why do you want me to dress as a woman? Don't even think about it. I won't dress as a woman. Really? Ning, she narrowed her eyes. Really? More real than pearls. If I dress as a woman, I'll be your son. Jiang Mai sneered. Alas. Ning, she shook her head and said with pity, I was thinking of you, but you didn't appreciate it. Forget it. You should keep such a good thing for yourself. Jiang Mai said with an expression of, I'm grateful to your whole family. It's a pity that I have to find someone else to play the role of Killer Carl. Ning, she turned around and left. What? Killer Carl? Jiang Mai stood in front of the door immediately. Did you just say the killer in the Hollywood movie? Jiang Mai asked tentatively. Yes. What else? Ning, she nodded. Ning Xiaoxi, who are you kidding? Will they hire a Chinese actor to play such an important role? Jiang Mai said with a don't even think about it look. Even if they did hire a Chinese actor, it had nothing to do with Ning Shi. How could they let Ning Shi find an actor? Look. Ning Shi took out the contract and threw it to Jiang Mai. Jiang Mai opened the contract and looked at it carefully. 15 minutes later, Jiang Mai's pupil shrank. This was indeed the contract for the male Killer Carl in the new version of the killer. And Ning Shi wouldn't lie to him with such a thing. Damn! Ning Xiaoxi, how did you get the role? Good job. Jiang Mai was excited. Jiang Mai was a classic mystery of the killer. He had watched the movie hundreds of times since he was a child. More importantly, his idol, Juz, was the producer of the new version of the killer. Give it back. Ning, she couldn't be bothered with Jiang Mai and snatched the contract back. Aunt, please don't. I'll do it, Jiang Mai said with a smile. TSK Tisk, I'm sorry, but this time, even calling me first aunt won't work. Ning, she didn't buy it. She said softly, who said that if he acts, he'll call me daddy, dad. Jiang Mai stared at Ning Shi and shouted decisively. Ning Shi stared at Jiang Mai speechlessly. Previously, when she asked him to act, he refused no matter what, and even threatened her. At this moment, he was licking his face and calling him daddy, insisting on signing the contract. Where's your integrity? Jiang Mai smiled apologetically and tried to make his smile more sincere. Dad, I was wrong. Really? The corners of Ning Shi's mouth twitched. She threw the contract back to Jiang Mai and said, take a good look at it. I need to report back to them. Ning Xiaoxi, how did you get this role for me? Jiang Mai couldn't wait to sign the contract and asked in confusion. Mr. Juz asked me to look for a suitable actor and recommended you to him, Ning Shi said. Hearing Ning Shi mention Juz, Jiang Mai was a little surprised. Chapter 1968. You know Juz? Jiang Mai was surprised. Ning Shi hadn't been in the entertainment circle for long. Even the most famous actress in the country couldn't know Juz. How could I know him? I met him at the audition, but we got along well. He was the one who decided the role for me, Ning Shi said. Audition? Oh, I haven't asked you yet. What's your role? Jiang Mai asked casually. Killer, Ning Shi said. Jiang Mai was shocked. Don't tell me you're playing the female lead, Anna. Ning Shi had expected this reaction. Holding her chin, she said, I feel like I'm in a dream. It was said that Lillian was supposed to be the female lead. Jiang Mai didn't know what to say. How could a heavyweight Hollywood classic like Hitman use a Chinese actress as the female lead? This kind of thing had never happened in the country before. Not to mention The Killer. Even if it was an ordinary Hollywood movie, there were only a handful of Chinese actors who were given slightly more important roles. Especially after knowing that Ning Shi had replaced Lillian, Jiang Mai was full of admiration. Lillian was now the youngest best actress in Hollywood and one of the hottest artists in Hollywood. Her importance was self-evident. The female lead role that was originally given to Lillian in The Assassin was actually replaced by Ning Shi, and it was the decision of his super idol, Juz. Jiang Mai raised his eyebrows, and his expression was very subtle. TSK, Han Zixuan and Zheng Anru are still boasting that Han Zixuan has successfully entered the Assassin crew and participated in the Assassin movie. I'm afraid they would never dream that you're now the female lead of the Assassin. Zheng Anru and Han Zixuan must have been slapped in the face by Ning Shi this time. Mission accomplished. I'm leaving. If you need women's clothes, you can come to me. Ning Shi said with a smile. Thinking of women's clothes, Jiang Mai's excited mood suddenly turned sad. Damn it, what's going on? After leaving the villa area, Ning Shi drove back to the garden house in Deertown. Thinking of the days she spent with White Tiger, Ning Shi's heart almost melted. She couldn't help but call Han Xiao, asking him to bring White Tiger to give her a massage. Unfortunately, Han Xiao's phone was turned off, and he couldn't get through. The Almighty really came and went like a shadow. A week later, almost all the well-known entertainment media in the country rushed to a certain filming location for The Hitman in the imperial capital. Today, the production team will be holding a press conference to confirm the casting. China's A-lister, Han Zixuan, had successfully entered the cast of Hitman and acted in the movie. Every media outlet wanted to get first-hand information and interview her. A temporary base for the show. The prestige monarch appeared for the first time. The black suit accentuated his slender figure to the extreme. Emperor Prestige. Oh my God, so handsome. After seeing the mighty emperor in person, many of the media were instantly convinced. Wei Di was even more handsome in person than in front of the camera. The Wei Di came out to greet them before hurriedly leaving. After that, Lillian and some of Hollywood's top actors also appeared and politely answered a few questions from the Chinese media before returning to the set. About half an hour later, Han Zixuan, her two assistants, and Zheng Anru appeared in front of the media. Miss Han Zixuan, may I ask how you managed to successfully act in The Assassin this time? Chapter 1969. Seeing Han Zixuan appear, many media swarmed to her. Zheng Anru answered the questions with a proud smile on her face. First of all, it's because of Zixuan's superb acting skills. Secondly, the role is suitable for her. Coupled with her fame as an A-lister, it was a piece of cake for Zixuan to get the role in the Killer movie. Reporter: Then what role will Miss Han Zixuan play in the Killer movie? Reporter: We all know that the Killer movie is regarded as a biblical classic that Hollywood can't surpass. I wonder if Miss Han Zixuan has ever felt any pressure? Zheng Anru said, Zixuan knows this movie very well and has done a lot of homework. In order to concentrate on this movie, she even temporarily put aside her work in the world. I dare not say that I will surpass her predecessors, but I will definitely try my best to play the role vividly and vividly. As for the role, although there aren't many scenes, everyone should know that even in an ordinary Hollywood movie, it's extremely difficult to get a role, especially in a biblical classic like An Assassin. For Zixuan to be able to get such a role, especially to be able to share the stage with Hollywood's best actor in Lillian, it's already something to be proud of. By the way, it is said that Miss Ning Shi also participated in the audition of the Killer movie, but there is no news from Shengshi Entertainment. Is there any inside information from Starlight Entertainment? A female reporter hurriedly took the opportunity to ask. Speaking of Ning Shi, Zheng Anru smiled, and a trace of disdain appeared in her eyes. Then she said flatly, We don't know much about Shengshi Entertainment and Ning Shi. However, the main role in the Killer movie has already been decided. Besides, there is no news from Shengshi Entertainment. You can imagine it yourself. Besides, Hollywood usually only uses one role in this kind of biblical classic remake. Since Zixuan has succeeded in the audition, although Zheng Anru didn't say it clearly, her meaning was very obvious. Maybe Ning Shi didn't succeed in the audition. It was more likely that Ning Shi and Han Zixuan, two super A-listers, competed for the same role. As a result, Han Zixuan got the role and joined the crew, while Ning Shi failed. In the Killer movie, Wei Di will play the leading role and Lillian will play the leading role. The other roles are also relatively transparent. If Hollywood only chose one role in Hua Nation, does it mean that Miss Ningxi and Miss Han Zixuan competed for the same role and Miss Han Zixuan won? Remember to grasp the main point and ask questions immediately. Zhang Anru smiled. We're not too sure about that. The process doesn't seem important. In the end, Zixuan ended up participating in the killer. Although Zhang Anru did not say it explicitly, her words were already very clear. All the reporters had a look of understanding. While they were talking, Su Tao appeared on the set with several assistants and Ning Shi. Yo! Su Tao looked at Zhang Anru, who was not far away, and said, Zhang Anru, the gold medal agent, did you bring your minor role to win glory for Starlight Entertainment today? Seeing Su Tao and Ning Shi suddenly appear here, Zhang Anru sneered. What's the matter? You came here with a has-been actress who can't even get a cameo role. Are you trying to gain exposure? Chapter 1970. What? What did you say? A has-been actress who can't even get a cameo role? Su Tao made an exaggerated look. Are you ignorant? Zhang Anru stared at Ning Shi and Su Tao with undisguised disdain in her eyes. At this time, they were still pretending. Miss Ning Shi, it is said that you also auditioned for the same role with Miss Han Zixuan, but you lost in the end. Is that true? Miss Ning Shi, does this mean that even if you are currently in the limelight in China and even sweep the top 5 lists overnight, your international status is still not as good as Miss Han Zixuan's? Hearing this question, Zhang Anru sneered. This kind of question should be asked more often. Before Su Tao could speak, the official launch of the official role of the killer had begun. All the media reporters stopped paying attention to Ning Shi and quickly rushed into the venue, trying to find the best angle to release the report. Su Tao took Ning Shi to walk towards the venue from another channel. At this moment, at the press conference, Wei, Lillian, and others were already seated. All the characters in the new killer had arrived. A cameo role like Han Zixuan couldn't be on the table. Everyone on the table was an important character. Why is there an empty seat? A reporter was puzzled. Is Lillian sitting in the second female lead seat? Some sharp-eyed reporters found that Lillian's seat was not the first female lead seat, but the second female lead seat. Is the previous rumor wrong? Lillian is playing the second female lead's role in the killer ? Who is the first female lead? It should be one of the superhuman Hollywood movie queens. I guess it's Jennifer or Blanche. While all the domestic media were guessing, Ning Shi walked into the venue. Seeing Ning Shi, Wei stood up politely and pulled the female seat in front of him away. Seeing this, all the media looked around, searching for the other 2 Hollywood movie queens. A has-been actress came here to freeload? Doesn't she feel ashamed of our country? Seeing that Ning Shi and Su Tao also entered the venue, Zhang Anru sneered. That's right, but I can't beat Sister Zixuan, so there's nothing I can do about it. After all, it's an assassin's press conference. I'm just here to have a look and see so many famous Hollywood celebrities. It can also be considered as consolation for my failure. A person like her can only watch Big Sis Zixuan, Wei and Lillian perform together on television. What chance does she have? Could it be that he's here to cause trouble again? This person is too shameless. The 2 assistants in front of Han Zixuan sneered. Not only Zhang Anru and the others, but many domestic media also saw Ning Shi. Miss Ning Shi, since you didn't get the role and failed to compete with Miss Han Zixuan as a domestic A-list actress, isn't it inappropriate for you to come to the release of Killers? Miss Ning Shi, how are you feeling now? More than a dozen reporters surrounded Ning Shi and immediately asked questions. Sorry, please excuse me. Su Tao couldn't be bothered with these people. He protected Ning Shi and walked up to the stage. So, under the watchful eyes of the public, Ning Shi actually walked in the direction of the press conference. Miss Ning Shi, please sit down. At this moment, Wei, who had helped to pull out the chair, made a very gentlemanly gesture of please. Chapter 1971. Thank you. Ning Shi nodded to express her gratitude. Under everyone's shocked and incredulous gaze, She sat firmly on the leading actress seat. Seeing this scene, Han Zixuan, Zheng Anru, the assistants, and the reporters were all completely stunned. Zheng Anru's disdainful smile froze on her face, as if she had been petrified. She walked forward slowly and finally sat down on the leading actress seat. Lillian looked at She from time to time. She didn't know what the director was thinking. Why would a Hollywood movie, especially a remake of the biblical classic The Killer, use a Hua actress? However, even director Simon didn't answer this question. He even reminded her not to make trouble in case of trouble. So although she was dissatisfied, she didn't dare to do anything. Of course, if the box office was not good enough when the movie was released, it would be the problem of using the leading actress. At this moment, the Chinese entertainment reporters were all stunned and even forgot to ask questions. Hollywood actually chose a Huan Nation actress as the female lead. And this female lead was Shi. All the cameras focused on Shi at once. "Hello, Miss Shi. Are you Anna, the leading actress of The Killer?" A reporter immediately asked. "Yes." Shi nodded and said. At first, the audience still had some doubts, but after Shi admitted it herself, there was an uproar. Zheng Anru and Han Zixuan, together with the assistants, stared at Shi, who was the focus of attention, in a trance. Shi is the leading actress of The Killer, right? A lie. One of the assistants' eyes turned pale with fright. How could it be? Zheng Anru came to herself, and her face changed dramatically. It was very rare for a Hua super A-list actress to play a small role in The Killer. She directly became the leading actress. What kind of joke was this? "Zheng Anru, it's cool down there with you as an extra. Don't you want to sit up there?" At this moment, Su Tao leisurely walked forward and stared at Zheng Anru with a smile. Zheng Anru clenched her fists, and her face was so gloomy that it seemed that water could drip from it. Even if she died, she wouldn't have expected such a scene. What was the concept of being the female lead in a classic Hollywood blockbuster? Su Tao had a cheeky smile on his face. After she starred in Hitman, she would become an international A-lister. From then on, who in the entire Chinese entertainment industry could compare to Shi? Han Zixuan, that was simply trash. Unless Han Zixuan could make her character shine in The Assassin. Perhaps it was still possible. However, was it possible for a minor character? Su Tao, don't be too arrogant. Zheng Anru looked at Su Tao's smug look and almost exploded from anger. They had thought that after Han Zixuan got the role, her status in the Huan Nation entertainment industry would be unshakable. Who would have thought that the producers of Killer were so stupid as to ask Shi to be the female lead? So what if I'm arrogant? Bite me? I'm afraid I'll break your teeth. Su Tao laughed. Seeing Zheng Anru's flustered and exasperated appearance, Su Tao was extremely delighted. "What are you so proud of?" Zheng Anru pointed at Su Tao. "Who knows if your has-been actress will be replaced halfway through. Even if not, if this movie doesn't reach the expected box office, I'll see how you'll die." Zheng Anru was so angry that her voice was trembling. Chapter 1972. Humph, that's a matter of the future. Let's see if you'll die now. Seeing that it was about time, Su Tao turned around and left with satisfaction. He did not look at Zheng Anru again. Zheng Anru stood there with a gloomy face. She didn't say a word, and her heart was in a mess. This time, she was really panicking. "Miss Shi, how did you get the role of the killer woman?" The reporters asked Shi. Before Shi could answer, Assistant Director Simon Joseph said, "It's simple. Because Miss Shi's image and temperament are very suitable for the role of Anna. This is the first time that Hollywood has used a Chinese actress as the leading actress. And Miss Shi is the most suitable one as the most famous actress in Hua." The Prestige Emperor also chimed in. This was a slap in Han Zixuan's face. "Mr. Will, have you seen Miss Shi's works?" At this time, a male reporter asked. Probably no one had expected that not only Director Simon, but also Wadey was speaking for Shi. Although they were on the same side now, it was still unbelievable. "Yes, a few days ago, I read Miss Shi's works after learning that I would be acting with Miss Shi. Under the Heavens is a movie with strong Chinese characteristics. Although I don't understand it, Miss Ning, she did a great job in playing the role of Meng Chang'e. There's also a movie called Mother, in which the blind mother. It can be said that it's the epitome of human maternal love and the understanding of human nature. And Miss Ning, she's performance in men's clothing in The Dream Seeker is more than enough to prove that she is capable of portraying the male side of Anna. Wadey analyzed carefully. He was really familiar with all of Ning Shi's works and couldn't find any mistakes. In fact, Wadey had watched Ning Shi's works and appreciated them very much. So, I'm a fan of Miss Ning Shi, and I look forward to acting with her. Wadey smiled. Thank you, Mr. Will. Ning Shi said to Wadey. She was totally surprised to receive such a high praise from Wadey. I didn't expect Mr. Will to be a fan of Miss Ning Shi. After hearing Emperor Wei's comments, many of the domestic entertainment media were shocked. Mr. Will, thank you for your answer. I have another question. Between Miss Ning Shi and Miss Han Zixuan, who do you want to act with most? What? The mighty Emperor blanked. Miss Ning Shi or Miss Han Zixuan, who do you want to play with most? The reporter thought that Wei Di didn't hear him clearly and repeated himself. I understand what you mean, but the young lady Han Zixuan you're talking about. I'm sorry. I've never paid attention to her, said the mighty emperor. Top stars like them would never say such polite words on such occasions. If you know, then you know. If you don't know, then you don't know. Following the majestic monarch's words, Zheng Anru and Han Zixuan's expressions were indescribable. The assistants were still complaining. Mr. Will, Miss Han Zixuan is also a superstar in Hua Nation. She is as famous as Miss Ning Shi. The reporter was a little embarrassed. I'm sorry, I've only seen Miss Ning Shi's works, but I don't know Miss Han Zixuan's works. If I have a chance in the future, I'll have a look. I'll answer your question then, Emperor Wadey said generously. Chapter 1973. Okay, thank you. The reporter nodded and ended his speech. Everyone's expression was a bit indescribable, but soon they came to themselves and continued to ask questions. Miss Ning Shi, the old version of the female killer, has become a classic. Miss Ning Shi, do you feel the same pressure to play such a role? I will try my best to play the role. As for the pressure, I will feel it, but just as Ning Shi was about to reply, Jiang Mai rushed into the hall with his agent and assistant. Seeing that Jiang Mai had just arrived, Ning Shi glared at him secretly. This guy was late for the opening ceremony of the movie in Hua Nation. Seeing Jiang Mai's sudden appearance, many cameras turned to him. Sorry, really sorry. The car broke down halfway. Lei Ming said apologetically. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never say that this guy was too excited and overslept. Jiang Mai walked to Simon Joseph and said, Director Simon, I'm really sorry. Sit down. Simon Joseph waved his hand. After Jiang Mai got the contract from Ning Shi, he immediately went to the film company and made an appointment with the producer, Juz, to get acquainted with the crew. It was fine if this guy was not serious, but when he was serious, it was hard not to like him. Soon, he became familiar with the crew. Seeing that Jiang Mai sat down on the nameplate of the character Carl, the audience burst into exclamations again. My God, Jiang Mai's playing Carl. Carl doesn't have many scenes, but he is as classic as the main character. The actor who played the role of the male killer Carl became an international A-lister with this role. Now he was also the highest-paid comedy star in Hollywood. Lei Ming looked around and strode up to Su Tao with a smile on his face. Old Su, it's all thanks to Ning Shi that Mu Yi got such a good opportunity. Su Tao said proudly, My queen is so loyal. For the first time, Hollywood used 3 Chinese actors. Han Zixuan's cameo didn't count, but Ning Shi and Jiang Mai, one was the leading actress of the movie, and the other was Carl, a very outstanding supporting role in the movie. It was unbelievable. But Mr. Jiang Mai, I didn't hear that you went to the audition. How did you get this role? A female reporter looked at Jiang Mai in confusion. Hearing that, Jiang Mai nodded and replied, Yes, I did an audition before. Then your role is... The female reporter continued. Ning Shi helped me fight for it, Jiang Mai said honestly. Not only the female reporter, but the others were also stunned by Jiang Mai's answer. What? Ning Shi helped him fight for it? What did that mean? For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Ning Shi. I just made a recommendation. It's mainly because of Senior Zhang's strength. Ning Shi smiled. Hearing Ning Shi's answer, Jiang Mai was speechless. Damn strength. Did he have the ability to cross-dressing? It felt like there was more to this guy's words. At this moment, the Chinese media once again fell silent. All along, they had been comparing Han Zixuan with Ning Shi. But looking at it now, it was simply too laughable. Chapter 1974. Ning Shi became the #1 killer woman. Later, she recommended Jiang Mai to play the role of Carl, a classic character in The Killer. Han Zixuan, on the other hand, only got a minor role after much preparation. After all, Jiang Mai didn't even have an audition. Because of Ning Shi's words, he got the contract to play the role of Carl. What was the situation now? Wadey only knew Ning Shi and claimed to be her fan. When Han Zixuan was mentioned, he looked confused and said he didn't know her. Ning Shi sat in the leading female seat and accepted all kinds of interviews from the Chinese media. After Han Zixuan got the minor role in the movie, Starlight Entertainment made a lot of publicity. She was the light of Hua Nation. Ning Shi, on the other hand, didn't do any publicity at all. She went straight to the leading female seat after the opening ceremony of the movie in Hua Nation. Han Zixuan didn't even have the right to go on stage. She could only stand below the stage and look up at Ning Shi. What was the difference? Needless to say, this was the difference. There was no harm without comparison. Mr. Jiang Mai, can you tell us your understanding of the role of Carl? A reporter asked. Sure. Jiang Mai nodded and thought for a while. Carl and the leading female character, Anna, are from the same school. They often carry out assassination missions. In one of the missions, Carl dressed up as a woman. Mr. Jiang Mai, what do you think of the cross-dressing? Can you personally accept such a large-scale role? The reporter immediately asked. Obviously, the other reporters were also very interested in this issue. Jiang Mai wanted to slap the reporter to death, but he could only say, I'm a loyal fan of the movie, and I like the role of Carl very much. It's an honor to play Carl. As for the cross-dressing, it's also necessary for the plot. As a professional actor, I should try to play a variety of roles and keep challenging myself. Anyway, I'll play this role with all my heart. Jiang Mai looked at the flashing lights and felt a headache coming on. If it was a normal Hollywood movie, he would not have hesitated to reject the role of a cross-dressing man. However, as a loyal fan of the movie, he couldn't resist the temptation of recreating a classic. He had to bite the bullet and do it. The questions from the Chinese entertainment media continued. Most of them revolved around Ning Shi and Wadey. For example, Han Zixuan and the other minor characters were completely ignored by the media. Miss Ning Shi, you are the light of Hua Nation in Hollywood, the glory of our nation. A reporter stared at Ning Shi and sighed. After the press conference, Ning Shi was given the title of Hollywood's glory of Hua Nation that Han Zixuan had boasted about before. Starlight Entertainment. Wang Haojuan fell onto the large leather chair, his face ashen. How is this possible? His original plan was that Lu Jingli would use his connections with Lu Enterprises to help Ning Shi snatch the role away from him. Even if this was the result, he could still turn the situation around. He could say that Ning Shi had used underhanded means to steal Han Zixuan's role and use public opinion to attack her. Who would have thought that the role of Han Zixuan would not be snatched away? Instead, Ning Shi would get the leading role, and even Jiang Mai would play an important role. This round was already a dead end. After this battle, Golden Age Entertainment could be said to have made a complete turnaround. He didn't dare to think about what would happen to Starlight Entertainment in the future. Chapter 1975. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Wang Haojuan immediately stood up. Mr. Su, why are you here? After Su Yin transferred all his shares to Ning Xiuelua, he rarely asked about the company's affairs. Did Ning Xiuelua ask him to come? That must be it. What if he borrowed the Su family's power? Wang Haojuan's eyes suddenly bloomed with a glimmer of hope. Mr. Su, My men did not do a good job this time and lost such an important cooperation. I can't absolve myself from the blame, but the most important thing now is to find a way to make up for it. Do you have any good ideas, Mr. Su? Su Yan looked at the newspaper on Wang Haojuan's desk. On the front page was a photo of Ning. She's sitting on the female lead seat of The Assassin. The headline was, Hollywood's Glory of China, Ning Shi. Su Yan looked at the photo and felt a dull pain in his eyes. His girl. He should have looked for her and replied to her a long time ago. But now, he could only go back on his promise to her and avoid her in a sorry state. Mr. Su. Mr. Su? Su Yan looked away from the newspaper. How can we make up for the fact that our artists are not as good as others? Wang Haojuan was taken aback. Ahem, but Zi Xuan is the #1 sister of Starlight. Her reputation is Starlight's reputation. This time, Ning Shi has suppressed Starlight to this extent. It's really embarrassing for Starlight. Survival of the fittest. If she can't do it, then let someone else do it. Wang Haojuan was speechless by Su Yan. Although Su Yan's words were not pleasant to hear, they were not without reason. The role had been determined, and there was nothing that could be done about it. Now that Han Zixuan was suppressed to this extent, Starlight could not always put all their resources in one bowl. I understand what you mean, Mr. Su, Wang Haojuan said. Shuliwa hasn't been feeling well recently. Contact me if you need anything, Su Yan said. Then a trace of bitterness flashed in his eyes. He could only use this method to get closer to her. Okay, I understand. Wang Haojuan nodded. Su Yan was now managing Starlight on behalf of Ning Xua. Although he could not reverse the situation, he could only comfort himself that he had another backer. Not long after Su Yan left, Zhang Anru rushed into Wang Haojuan's office as if she had found a fire. Mr. Wang, you must seek justice for our Zi Xian. Zi Xuan was so angry that she was sent to the hospital. Ning Shi, that bitch, had used some kind of crafty plot to get the female lead role out of nowhere. This was completely shady. How can our Zi Xuan be a concubine for that kind of person? Isn't that? Wang Haojuan interrupted Zhang Anru's incessant chatter with a displeased expression. All right, don't blame everything on others. I've spent all my resources on her. How am I supposed to seek justice for her? Zhuz is the female lead in a movie personally produced by him. Is this something that can be done with schemes and schemes? Even if Lu Enterprises use their connections, the actors themselves must have enough strength to convince the crew, and even Zhuz himself. This was more difficult than having connections. After all, it was impossible for Zhuz to ruin his reputation. If it was said that Wang Haojuan only had some regrets before, then at this moment, he was so regretful that he doubted his life. If Ning Shi had stayed with Starlight, this miracle, this great glory, would have all belonged to Starlight, and Wang Haojuan's name would have forever been recorded in the annals of the entertainment industry. Chapter 1976. Thinking of this, Wang Haojuan was even more upset. He said in a low voice, now that things have come to this, if she is not satisfied with this role, I will arrange for someone else. President Wang, that's not what I meant. Zhang Anru said hurriedly. What she meant was that she wanted to get the lead actress, not quit the crew. Wang Haojuan said in an unfriendly tone, then be prepared. Since she is sick, let her stay at home for a while to recuperate and practice her acting skills. She is not the only actress in the company. Zhang Anru understood such an obvious warning. She wanted to say something else, but she was afraid that she would make Wang Haojuan even more unhappy, so she could only walk out in a low voice. Zhang Anru had actually expected this result, but she was really unwilling to accept it. How could the most popular actress in the entertainment circle, whom she had brought up, be suppressed by a has-been Ning Shi to this extent? After the press conference, Han Zixuan finally went back at the speed of a tortoise, not daring to boast anymore after losing so much face. Shengshi Entertainment, on the other hand, held a lively celebration party. Everyone rejoiced, and hope was restored. After all, from what happened to Qin Shuang and Jiang Mai, it could be seen that Ning Shi was not the kind of person who monopolized resources. On the contrary, since Ning Shi came back, she had never forgotten to find resources for them. All of a sudden, Ningxi's prestige in the hearts of all the employees and artists of Shengshi Entertainment reached its peak. Soon after, the shooting of The Killer entered an intense period. Ningxi was on the set with the script in her hand. Whenever she had free time, she would study it carefully. The rarest thing was that Jiang Mai almost lived with the crew and was so serious that he almost went crazy. Lei Ming was moved to tears. His naughty boy had finally grown up. It only took about a week for the plot to take place in Huan Nation to be completed. Ningxi and Jiang Mai also went to Europe with the crew to continue shooting. At the same time, the financial market of Hualand was greatly impacted in a short period of time. Most of the financial indicators in Hualand, including short-term interest rates, currency assets, securities, real estate, and even the stocks of some listed companies, were impacted and deteriorated. The first to bear the brunt of the deterioration of the stocks was the Lu Group in Hualand. The Lu Group subsidiaries were spread all over Asia. They were the wind vane of China's economic system and controlled the economic lifeline of almost the entire Asia. Once the Lu Group collapsed, it would be a huge blow to the entire Chinese economy. In the conference hall, Lu Tingxiao's deep eyes were dark. "Brother, what's going on?" Lu Jingli rushed to the conference room and saw that Lu Tingxiao was still there. Lu Tingxiao looked at the complicated data on the computer screen. Someone is controlling it from behind. Right now, China's economy was in a mess, like a bubble economy in the past. Once the bubble burst, the consequences would be unimaginable. If they wanted to destroy Huan Nation's economy, the first thing they had to deal with was Lu Corporation. But what kind of person has such great ability? This is simply impossible. The other party's target wasn't just one or two companies, but the entire Huan Nation. How powerful must they be to achieve this? Now, some of the large and small shareholders of the Lu Group had issued an announcement 3 days ago to sell their shares to the outside world. Chapter 1977. And overnight, the shares that had been sold were all purchased by a rather mysterious foreign economic group. If Lu Group were to change hands and fall into the hands of an outsider, it would form a virtual bubble economy. It would be enough to destroy the entire economic chain in a short period of time. Thinking of this, Lu Jingli's scalp went numb. This was definitely a conspiracy. It wasn't just Lu Group. There were also several powerful Shangshi groups in China that had the exact same experience as Lu Group. In other words, they're not just targeting Lu Group. They're trying to control the entire Asian economy. Lu Jingli looked at Lu Tingxiao in horror. There were too many Asian underground forces attached to the Asian economy. If the Asian economy was destroyed, it would be very easy to disintegrate those underground forces. Whether it was disintegrating or using them for their own use, there would be no difficulty at all. Which force is it? I originally thought it was that bastard Yin again, but after thinking about it, even he wouldn't be able to do this. Lu Jingli's brain was about to explode. After a while, Lu Tingxiao opened his mouth and said 2 words, "Lucky Emperor." After hearing these 2 words, Lu Jingli was stunned. After a moment, he said in shock, "What the fuck? No way. We don't interfere with each other. What does that old guy mean by coming to our territory to cause trouble? And I feel like they're targeting Lu Group this time. If Lu Group didn't change hands, then the current situation would still be stable. But once Lu Group fell, the consequences would be obvious. For example, those powerful listed companies in the country would instantly collapse with the collapse of Lu Group. There would be no room for negotiation. Yun Shun, the internal problem was already bad enough, and now an external enemy had come to interfere at night in an old house in the suburbs of Beijing. In the dim shadows, a white-haired man's cold voice could be heard. "Tisk, Uncle Qiao is really lucky." Looking at the man who had betrayed his family in hatred, Qiao Yi's face was unusually gloomy. "Shun, you've been bewitched by that woman. I can forgive you this once." "Huh?" Yin Shun chuckled as if he had heard something funny. "Now, I'll give you one last chance. Join forces with me. This is our only chance to overthrow the Lu family." Yin Shun's gaze fell on the man in the darkness. "Looks like Uncle Qiao has found a thick thigh this time. Since that's the case, why do you need me?" Xiao, he was completely infuriated by Yunshen's nonchalant tone. Your mother's corpse is still warm. You're just wasting your time like this. Think about it yourself. What have you been doing for an entire year? What did you do? Yunshen was slightly stunned. This year, he clearly did not do anything, but he felt that this was the only year that he was truly alive. I'm pulling you out of the quagmire. Xiao, he sounded exasperated. Yunshen chuckled. Aren't you afraid that I'll change sides and help Lu Tingxiao like last time and ruin your plan? How dare you? Xiao, he was furious when Yunshen saw through him. Yunshen raised his eyebrows. Uncle Xiao's backer this time is so powerful. What difference does it make whether I dare or not? It's good that you know. No matter what, the Lu family must die this time. If you join forces with me, I can pretend that nothing happened before. Chapter 1978. Xiao Yi's tone softened, and he said in a bewitching tone, If you really like that woman, it's not a big deal. When the Lu family is finished, you can just snatch her over. Yi, see the guest out. Yunshen seemed to have lost his patience and said coldly. Xiao Yi frowned when he saw that the other party was still unwilling to relent. Shun, I don't have that much time to waste on you. Now, I'll give you two choices. First, stand with me and we'll still be a family. Otherwise, we'll be enemies in the future. Cloud Deep smiled. I thought we were already enemies a long time ago. Good. Xiao Yi stood up immediately and said good 3 times. Since you want to go against me and Europe, then don't blame Uncle Xiao. Xiao Yi stood up and turned to leave without saying anything more to Yunshen. Tang Yi accepted the order and escorted him out of the room. Xiao Yi glanced at Tang Yi and said in a low voice, Yi, try to persuade him when you have the time. Everything I'm doing is for his own good. Otherwise, I won't be able to protect him when the European king takes over all the forces in Asia. Tang Yi didn't say anything. He was stuck between Yunshen and Xiao Yi and was in a difficult position. Who would have thought that? Not only did Master escape back then, but he had also made contact with the European Emperor's forces over the past year. As far as he knew, even if the organization was at its peak, it would be impossible for them to climb up to the forces over there. This matter seemed to be full of mysteries. Who was the one who saved Master back then? How did he manage to team up with Lucky Emperor? The economic crisis in Cathay this time was actually related to Master. Although his master didn't have the ability to do so, if Lucky Emperor was involved, not to mention China, even the entire Asian economic chain would be destroyed. Almost as soon as Xiao Yi left, another person came to visit. Tang Yi was slightly surprised to see the newcomer. Lu Tingxiao. Ever since Ning she fell into a coma. Although Yunshen and Lu Tingxiao had never interacted or met each other, they seemed to have a tacit understanding, and the forces of the two sides maintained a delicate balance. Lu Tingxiao's visit tonight probably had something to do with Lucky Queen. Due to the sudden invasion of the European king's forces, the balance of power was now in jeopardy. Whether it was the Lu family or their side, it was inevitable that they would be affected. When a nest is overturned, no eggs remain intact. Just like what Master had said, Europe King was determined to get his hands on the forces in Asia. If they didn't cooperate with Europe King after Europe King got rid of the Lu family, they would be the first to be dealt with. Tang Yi withdrew his thoughts, informed Yunshen, and brought the man upstairs. Inside the house. Seeing who it was, Yunshen put his legs on the coffee table, tilted his head, and said faintly, there are so many distinguished guests tonight. Take a seat. Lu Tingxiao sat on the single sofa opposite the white-haired man. Without saying a word, he went straight to the point and said, Cooperation. Cloud Depths chuckled. I say, my dear big brother, your way of persuading people is really special. Do you know? Just now, my uncle told me that if the Lu family is finished, then... Before Yunshen finished speaking, Lu Tingxiao already knew what Xiao Yi's character would say. His calm eyes suddenly flashed with a sharp light. Yunshen's eyes also instantly turned cold, and he suddenly said, Actually, you also want to kill me, right? Just like how he wanted to kill him too. Chapter 1979. He had been thinking about her all the time. But because of that heartless little girl, he forced himself to suppress this thought. Even he was surprised that he could endure it so well, of course. The guy opposite him seemed to be on par with him. You turned down Xiao, Lu Tingxiao said with certainty. It seemed that he had not only expected that Xiao Yi had come to him, but also that he had turned him down. Yin Shin snorted. I turned him down, but does that mean I have to accept you? Brother, your logic is worrying. You know very well what the truth was back then, Lu Tingxiao suddenly said. Yin Shun's pupils shrank. Well, so what? Everyone who did that back then should die, including the Lu family. When this is over, I will leave Lu Enterprises. Lu Tingxiao continued. How could he let go of the huge Lu Enterprises so easily? Yin Shin narrowed his eyes and sneered. How about we swap? You want a Lu family, and I want Tang Shi. How about we swap? You want the Lu family, and I want Tang Shi. What do you think? Lu Tingxiao's face turned cold. She is not a commodity. After saying this, Lu Tingxiao got up and left. Behind him, the indifference on Yun Shun's face suddenly turned into numbness and emptiness. Tut, boring. Half a month later, Ning Shi and Jiang Mai returned to China. The shooting in Europe went very smoothly. The other actors in the crew had doubts about Ning Shi, but they all shut up after Ning Shi played the role of Anna perfectly. Although Hollywood was hostile to the Chinese, they still respected those who were really capable. Even Lillian's relationship with Ning, she had eased up a lot. In Europe, the media even reported that Ning Shi and Lillian went shopping side by side and stayed in the same hotel. As soon as Ning Shi got off the plane, her phone rang. Hello, honey, have you arrived? A sweet voice came from the other end of the phone. Yes, Lillian, I just got off the plane, Ning Shi said. Oh, honey, do you know I just finished watching You're Under the Heavens. Your acting as Meng Chang'e was amazing. If it were in Hollywood, it would at least be an Oscar. Lillian's excited voice came from the other side of the phone. Ning Shi could even hear some of Meng Chang'e's classic lines on the phone. Lillian, you're exaggerating. Ning Shi laughed helplessly. Well, my dear, I'm relieved that you returned safely. Be sure to call me when you're free. Don't worry, I will, Ning Shi said with a smile. In the past half a month in Europe, she and Lillian had the most scenes. As a result, after spending time with each other day and night, the two of them had unknowingly become best friends who could talk about anything. Ning Shi hung up the phone and walked out of the airport. He was eager to return home. Not long after, she would fly to another country to continue filming. Taking advantage of his rest period, she hurriedly spent time with her sweetheart and baby Xiao Bao. Thinking of something, Ning Shi's eyes flashed with a trace of worry. Recently, she had been filming abroad in a closed-door manner. She had just found out that during this period of time, the domestic economy had undergone a huge upheaval, and Lu Group had been affected the most. He wondered how Lu Tingxiao was doing. Ning Shi got into the car and was rushing to Deer Town when her phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed Han Xiao. Chapter 1980. Ning Shi wasn't as surprised by the second call from the Almighty. She just raised her eyebrows and wondered if he was asking her to pay the bill again. Little girl, great God, which KFC are you at? I'll pay the bill right away, Ning, she said cleverly. You don't have to pay the bill, Han Xiao said. So nice this time? Ning, she was surprised. Then why are you looking for me? Take my white tiger away, Han Xiao said. What did you say? This guy eats half a year's worth of my food allowance every day. I can't even afford to eat KFC for the past few days. I can only get a chicken drumstick, and I can't even drink milk tea. Han Xiao sighed, full of resentment. The capital wasn't like the forest. It was too difficult to feed a white tiger. This was especially true for Han Xiao, who couldn't even afford to feed himself, let alone feed the white tiger. She realized that although the Almighty was powerful, his ability to take care of himself was negligible. How did he survive until now? Ning Shi, so what do you mean? Feed it for me for a few days, Han Xiao said without hesitation. Ning, she didn't want to say anything. The first time he asked her to pay the bill, the second time he asked her to be his meal ticket, and it was for a tiger with a huge appetite. Luckily, Ning Shi couldn't have asked for more. Roar. Her cute little tiger, No problem. Just send it over. I'm at the town from last time. Not long after hanging up, Han Xiao couldn't wait to send the white tiger to Deer Town. Fortunately, Deer Town was remote and undeveloped. Plus, it was already nighttime. Otherwise, the white tiger's appearance would have caused panic. Ningxi's eyes lit up when she saw the white tiger beside Han Xiao. Almighty, what does it usually eat? Feed me whatever you want. Han Xiao yawned lazily, then waved his hand and walked away. Ningxi's mouth twitched. She sighed and rubbed the white tiger's head. Your master is too unreliable. You should follow me from now on. I'll make sure you'll be fat and white. Mommy, Ningxi's talking to White Tiger with her head down. Suddenly, her legs soften. A soft little ball pounces on her. Roar. Darling little Bao, I miss you so much. Hurry up and give Mommy a kiss and a hug. Xiao Bao clung to Ningxi's chest, his heart filled with joy. At this moment, he saw the white tiger beside Ningxi, and his eyes widened. Mommy, be careful. After saying that, the little fellow quickly scuttled between Ningxi and the white tiger and made a blocking posture. Like a tiger cub, it stared at the tiger opposite it. Ningxi was so touched that she rubbed the little guy's head. Don't worry, Xiao Bao. This is Mommy's friend. He won't hurt you. Mom's friend? Yes. Hearing Ningxi's words, Xiao Bao relaxed. Now that his guard was down, he looked at the big white tiger with curiosity. Come on, let's go in and play. Don't scare the other neighbors. Yes. Thus, Ningxi led little Bun and the big white tiger into the house. Hearing the sound of the porch, Lu Tingxiao knew that Ningxi was back. He subconsciously looked in that direction. When Lu Tingxiao saw the familiar white tiger beside Ningxi, he was stunned for a moment. Han Xiao is here? Ningxi shrugged. No, that guy said he couldn't afford to keep it, so he asked me to take care of it for a few days. This master is too unreliable. Chapter 1981. Lu Tingxiao looked a little suspicious when he heard that. Judging from Han Zhao's temperament, he seemed to be a man who didn't know much about worldly affairs, but he had a feeling that this man wasn't as simple as he seemed. Everything he did seemed strange and absurd, but in fact he had his own meaning. Although he could not guess Han Zhao's intentions, he could be sure that he was a friend and not an enemy. On the other side, Ningxi and Xiao Bao had already completely played with the big white tiger. The two of them fed the big white tiger mouthful by mouthful. After the white tiger was full, its snow tail swayed, and it lay on the ground with its belly open, allowing Xiao Bao to rub against it. Ningxi was simply overwhelmed by its cuteness. Come and eat. Lu Tingxiao looked helplessly at the big and small pair lying on the ground. Perhaps he could consider raising a pet for them? Oh, I'm coming. Only then did Ningxi reluctantly shift her gaze away from the big white tiger. Just as she was about to go eat, the big white tiger immediately sat up straight and stared at the door with its tiger eyes. Moreover, it let out a low growl that sounded like a warning from its throat. Bang! A crisp sound was heard, and the door was smashed open. Two black-clothed, masked men in martial arts attire rushed in. Follow us. Before one of the men could finish his sentence, he suddenly saw the albino Bengal tiger beside Ningxi from the corner of his eyes. With his professional knowledge, he knew what the creature in front of him meant. This was not an ordinary white tiger in the zoo. The man was stunned for about 3 seconds. Sorry, we came to the wrong place. One of the men reacted quickly and pulled his companion to leave. However, the white tiger let out a loud roar and shot out like an arrow, blocking the door. This roar made Ningxi's whole body tremble, and her mind was in a trance. In the wild, the roar of a white tiger was enough to shake the mountains, not to mention feeling the tiger's roar at such a close distance. As for the man in black, he lost his balance under the tiger's roar and almost fell to the ground. Seeing that the white tiger did not immediately pounce on them, the two men hurriedly ran away. Soon, two of Lu Tingxiao's men rushed in, panting. Boss, are you okay? The other saw the white tiger at the door and was shocked. This is what's going on? Lu Tingxiao asked in a low voice. Someone barged into the forbidden zone, but the other party is obviously a professional mercenary. when we discovered it. They had already reached the vicinity. The subordinate's face was full of self-blame. Lu Tingxiao furrowed his brows. Deer Town was a residential area, after all, so it was impossible for him to secure it too tightly. Moreover, no matter how tight the defense was, as long as the opponent sent out people of a high level, there was a possibility that the defense could be broken. The defense around him was as good as it could be. It could be seen that the two of them were at least A. There was no need to guess who would be able to hire an A-rank mercenary. Seeing White Tiger circling Lu Tingxiao's men vigilantly, Ningxi hurriedly goes to bring White Tiger back. Baby, come back. They are not enemies. Dabai, come here. Little Treasure waved a hand at the White Tiger. Seeming to understand Ningxi and Xiaobao's words, the White Tiger swung its snow tail and walked toward Xiaobao, who was holding a piece of beef in his hand. At this moment, Ningxi looked outside the door and frowned slightly. This period of time did not seem to be peaceful. Some time ago, she had already encountered a stalker, who was finally dealt with by Han Xiao. Chapter 1982. Ningxi didn't tell Lu Tingxiao about being followed because she was afraid that he would be worried. Tonight, someone even broke into Deer Town and broke into the door of the small building in the garden. Fortunately, Han Zhao's White Tiger was here. Otherwise, even if she and Lu Tingxiao could deal with these two, Xiaobao was here today. If anything went wrong, she didn't dare to imagine the consequences. With the White Tiger here, there should be no problem for the time being. Don't worry, I'll ask Tang Lang to come over. You better not go out these few days, Lu Tingxiao said. Ningxi nodded. Okay, send Xiaobao to the old house first. You have to be careful too. The other party's target was obviously her. Of course, it was more likely that Lu Tingxiao was also here. Okay, after 2 days of peace, the other party didn't seem to have any plans to attack again. They were probably preparing for the next wave. On the other hand, Han Xiao came uninvited. When the White Tiger saw Han Xiao, it was very excited and immediately pounced on Han Xiao. Wow, the food is not bad, Han Xiao laughed when he saw that the White Tiger was full of energy. Of course, why don't you just give it to me so that I don't have to sleep outside with you? The more Ningxi looked, the more reluctant she was. No way. Han Xiao shook his head. Ningxi was only saying it casually, knowing that Han Xiao would definitely not agree. Hee, great God, suddenly, Ningxi grabbed Han Xiao. What? Do you want to treat me to a meal? Han Xiao glanced at her. Ningxi immediately choked. Can you not only know how to eat? It'll affect your glorious image. It's like this, great God, I'm being targeted by assassins. 2 nights ago, someone even broke into Deer Town to attack. Great God, please protect me. Ningxi's eyes were sparkling. No, I still have something to do. Han Xiao refused decisively. Is it urgent? Ningxi thought that if the other party was in a difficult position, she naturally wouldn't force him. KFC released a new set meal. I'm going to line up. Han Zhao's expression was serious. Damn, great God. Can you stop messing around with me? Also, how can you go back on your words? Ningxi complained. Go back on my words? Han Xiao didn't understand. Ningxi rummaged and rummaged for a while before taking out the whistle that Han Xiao had given her back then. Didn't you say that you would do me a favor and return me this whistle? Fortunately, the whistle was still there. Later, Lu Tingxiao helped her pick it up. Haven't I already returned the favor? I was the one who saved you last time. Han Xiao said. No. Ningxi shook her head decisively. I wasn't the one who blew the whistle last time. So what if you weren't the one who blew it? I did indeed save you. Han Zhao's expression was very matter-of-fact. Did I ask you to save him? Ningxi asked. Han Xiao thought for a moment, then said no. Since I didn't blow the whistle, and I didn't beg you to save me, how can this be considered as returning the favor? Almighty, don't you think so? Ningxi said with a smile, looking even more matter-of-fact. That's right, Han Xiao subconsciously replied. Great God, I knew you were the most reasonable. Ningxi immediately praised Han Xiao to the extreme. If she could get Han Xiao to hold the fort here, why would she be afraid of the assassins? So no matter what, She had to trick the great god into coming here. Han Xiao originally wanted to argue, but he was speechless. Ningxi was absolutely right. She wasn't the one who blew the whistle, and she wasn't the one who begged him to save her. Something feels wrong. Han Xiao stared blankly at the little girl in front of him. Ningxi, I'll get someone to line up for you and buy the new set meal. I'll send it over in half an hour. Han Xiao, okay. Chapter 1983. At the same time, Tang Lang was wearing a flowery shirt and slippers. Boss, why did you call me here? Tang Lang asked as soon as he entered the room. Ningxi looked at the door. Second senior brother, you're here. I had something to do, but it's all settled now. So what's going on? Tang Lang was speechless. Did she ask him to come all the way here for fun? It hasn't been peaceful these days. There was a sneak attack by an assassin the night before yesterday. I wanted to invite you here, Ningxi explained. Assassin. Tang Lang saw Han Xiao from the corner of his eye. Tang Lang's heart skipped a beat. Fuck. Why is this guy here? Don't tell me he's the assassin. Ningxi rolled her eyes at him. I invited the Almighty to hold the fort. Okay? Hearing that, Tang Lang heaved a sigh of relief. If this guy was an assassin, not many people would be able to escape. He was like a bug in the game. Since there's already someone here, why did you call me? Tang Lang was speechless. The weather was hot. He wanted to go home and eat watermelon. Kid, come and play with me. Suddenly, Han Xiao stretched his waist and hooked his finger at Tang Lang. Hearing that, Ningxi smiled flatteringly. Of course I called you here. Second senior brother, go and play with the Almighty. Fuck, Ning Xiaoxi, you're selling me out again. I won't fight. Tang Lang shook his head firmly. What a joke. He and Tang, you couldn't even get close to that guy even if they teamed up. Fighting with him? Well, kid, if you don't come, I'll go up and hammer you to death, Han Xiao said. Tang Lang looked like he wouldn't do it even if he was hammered to death. Come on. If you can't, I'll fight you with one finger. Han Xiao smiled. What did you say? Suddenly, Tang Lang's eyes flashed. Fuck, this is too much. One finger. Who are you looking down on? I said, I'll fight you with one finger. Han Xiao stretched out one finger. Second senior brother, don't tell me you can't even defeat one finger of the Almighty? Ningxi sighed. What a joke. Tang Lang was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Fine, you said it, one finger. If I can't even beat you with one finger, I'll call you Grandpa. After he finished speaking, Tang Lang's figure flashed, and he instantly charged toward Han Xiao. At this moment, Han Xiao stood motionlessly in the same place. His left hand was placed behind his back, and he only extended one finger. When Tang Lang was less than half a meter away from Han Xiao, a glint flashed in Han Xiao's eyes, and he pointed his finger at the void. Whoosh! Only to hear the sound of the air being torn apart ring out from within the building. Han Xiao's finger streaked across the void, and a strong gust of wind blew past. Before the finger arrived, a terrifying finger energy had already arrived. The speed of Han Xiao's finger was extremely fast. Not only did Ningxi not see it clearly, even Tang Lang did not see it clearly. In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, this finger pointed at Tang Lang's abdomen with an all-powerful force. There was a bang. Before Tang Lang could figure out what had happened, he had already been knocked to the ground by Han Xiao's finger. Tang Lang's face was filled with shock and disbelief as he stared at the lazy Han Xiao in front of him. This lazy man in front of him had simply casually pointed a finger at him, and he was completely unable to block it. It was very hard to imagine that if this man used his full strength, would he be stabbed to death by a finger? Tang Lang was already very talented in the martial Dao, and he was very conceited. However, there was always someone better than him, and there was always someone better than him. Tang Lang consoled himself in his heart. He was a normal human, and he would not compare himself to this kind of monster. Chapter 1984. I lost. Tang Lang sighed. How could a human defeat a monster? Sigh. How boring. Let's have another round. Han Xiao hooked his finger at Tang Lang again. In an instant, Tang Lang stood up and cupped his fists toward Han Xiao. Grandpa, not again. It seemed that Han Xiao also felt bored. His gaze fell on Ning Shi. Are you coming? Ning Shi immediately shook her head like a rattle. Great God, as you said, I am just a weak little chick. Please ignore me. All right. Han Xiao sat back on the sofa, turned on the TV, and began watching cartoons. Yes, cartoons. When Lu Tingxiao came back from work, he was a little surprised to see that Han Xiao was also there. Ning Shi proudly pulled Lu Tingxiao to the side and told him how she tricked Han Xiao to come over. Lu Tingxiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry after listening. Looking at the seemingly heartless man on the sofa, he thought that his guess was indeed correct. Han Xiao probably already knew what might happen, and the white tiger that day was also deliberately left behind by him. Late at night, there was a strange movement outside the flower house. The hall was very dark. Tang Lang accompanied Han Xiao to watch cartoons for the whole day, and both of them were watching with relish. Grandpa, someone is coming. Suddenly, Tang Lang's gaze turned cold, and he looked towards the door. Now, this guy called him Grandpa very smoothly, without any psychological barrier. Then why aren't you going to open the door? Han Xiao said. All right. Tang Lang stood up, ran forward with small steps, and opened the door. Welcome. Looking at the men in suits outside the door, Tang Lang said with a smile. Hearing that, the killers were all stunned. The man in the lead frowned, raised his gun, and shot towards Tang Lang. Tang Lang's reaction was also extremely fast. At the same time that the man raised his arm, he had already run away, dodging the shot. Grandpa, someone is not giving you face. Tang Lang shouted towards Han Xiao, who was on the sofa. As soon as his voice fell, he looked at the sofa again, and Han Xiao had already disappeared. Damn, what kind of speed is that? Tang Lang stared at Han Xiao, who was standing in front of the door, and couldn't help but shiver. Can this thing kill people? Han Xiao stood in front of the man, his eyes fixed on the pitch-black muzzle. You're courting death. A cold glint flashed across the man's eyes as he pulled the trigger at Han Xiao. Bang! The loud noise echoed in the building. What? The assassins looked at each other in dismay, only to see the lazy-looking man point a finger, actually moving the muzzle horizontally to the other side. The spear-wielding man's shot didn't kill Han Xiao. Instead, he killed one of his companions in front of him. Kids shouldn't play with guns. Look, something happened. Han Xiao shook his head. Just as Han Xiao opened his mouth, the others also pulled out their pistols. Let me have a look. Han Xiao snatched the pistol from one of the killers. Bang! Han Xiao instantly pulled the trigger and fired several shots. Every shot landed on the thighs of the assassins. A series of screams rang out in the pitch-black night. Sorry, I hit the wrong place. I'll try again. Han Xiao raised his pistol and pulled the trigger, aiming it at the heads of these people. Bang! 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 After a few gunshots, the heads of these assassins were pierced and they died on the spot. This time I hit the right target. Han Xiao glanced at the corpses on the ground, then threw the pistol out of the door. Unsightly, clean up. Han Xiao returned to the sofa, opened a bag of chips, and watched a cartoon. All right, Grandpa, I'll listen to you. Tang Lang eagerly walked forward and pulled the few corpses out. Chapter 1985. Xiao Yi had sent several batches of assassins to Deer Town in the past few days. However, there was no news of any of them after they went to Deer Town, as if they had evaporated into thin air. Uncle Xiao, I think Lu Holdings is prepared. Only 2 of the batches of assassins that were sent to Deer Town escaped. They said they saw a white tiger in Deer Town. Feng Jin said thoughtfully. White tiger? Xiao, he was puzzled. Could it be that the previous batches of assassins have been killed by White Tiger? Uncle Xiao, I think we can get Europe's forces to take action, Feng Jin said. Hearing this, Xiao, he shook his head. If they couldn't even handle such a small matter, it wouldn't be appropriate to get Europe's forces to send assassins. Send a few more batches of assassins to Deer Town. Xiao Yi's eyes flashed coldly. If it still didn't work this time, he would do it himself. No matter what, he had to get rid of Lu Tingxiao and his men. For the past few days, Han Xiao had been sitting in the garden building in Deer Town and had easily taken care of all the assassins. Tang Lang just sat on the sofa and ate watermelon every day, watching the reckless assassins come to their deaths, and then doing some cleaning work. It was quite relaxing. "Kid, come and play." Han Xiao yawned lazily and stared at Tang Lang, who was eating watermelon. "Grandpa, don't say that. Are you eating watermelon?" Tang Lang gave Han Xiao a piece of watermelon with a flattering expression. "Eat." Han Xiao nodded and ate the watermelon Tang Lang handed him. Ever since the last time, Tang Lang was no longer willing to practice with Han Xiao. As a human, how could he last even half a move against a monster? It was enough to try it once. Only a fool would be willing to try a second time. Someone broke through the blockade of Deer Town in the middle of the night. Ning Shi appeared in the hall and reminded him, "Great God, there's someone who doesn't give you face again. He clearly knows that you're here, but he still comes here to cause trouble every other day. I don't know what you're thinking, but if there's someone who doesn't give me face, I'll definitely chop him into pieces." Tang Lang looked at Han Xiao and laughed. Han Xiao crossed his legs, as if he didn't hear Tang Lang. A moment later, Han Xiao picked up a piece of watermelon and said as he ate, "You guys go out and cool off. There's air conditioning in the house. It's cooler than outside." Tang Lang subconsciously said. As soon as he finished speaking, Tang Lang's expression changed. This time, he was afraid that there were quite a few assassins. If a gunfight broke out, it would be terrible. He and Ning, she weren't monsters. What if they got shot? What would happen? Grandpa is right. It's cooler outside. Tang Lang pulled Ning Shi and left the flower house. An hour later, gunshots could be heard from the small building. After another quarter of an hour, when the gunshots completely disappeared, Ning Shi and Tang Lang returned to the garden house. Han Xiao was still lying on the sofa, gnawing on a watermelon. Inside and outside the hall, there were corpses everywhere. Upon seeing Tang Lang, Han Xiao shot a glance at him. "Grandpa, I understand." Tang Lang smiled flatteringly. Like a diligent little bee, he moved the corpse out of the small building in the garden and cleaned it up. "Great God, please help me." Ning Shi stared at Han Xiao with starry eyes. "I don't lack pendants," Han Xiao said. Without waiting for Ning Shi to speak, Han Xiao threw the watermelon skin into the trash can and asked Ning Shi, "I say, when can I leave?" Ning Shi's face was full of a subtle smile as she stared at Han Xiao. He was already here, and he still wanted to leave? How could it be so easy, when no assassins dared to come? Ning Shi said with a smile. Han Xiao sighed, his heart full of resentment. He finally became a nanny, on account of the good food here. Chapter 1986. Han Xiao wanted to leave a few times, but Ning Shi tempted him with delicious food. To Ning Shi, this god could be settled with a few good dishes. If he thought it was too troublesome, he could order a luxurious family bucket to save him the effort of cooking. "Little baby, be careful." The next day, Ning Shi held a bag of raw beef in her hand and teased the white tiger in the hall. The white tiger stood up in an instant, full of energy. It shook its snow-white tail and walked towards Ning Shi. "Hold my paw," Ning Shi tempted. The white tiger tilted its head and stared at Ning Shi adorably. "This is not bad." Ning Shi was about to feed the white tiger when Han Xiao suddenly appeared and snatched the bags of imported beef beside Ning Shi. "God, this is the white tiger's food, and it's raw." Ning Shi did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Kid." Han Xiao raised his hand and threw the beef to Tang Lang, who was not far away. "Okay, Grandpa, wait for me." Tang Lang eagerly ran to the kitchen and quickly fried the beef. "Damn, you too." Ning Shi looked at Han Xiao and then at Tang Lang. These two people were simply in cahoots with each other, especially Tang Lang. Motherfucker, he actually cooked for Han Xiao. Cooked for him. He suddenly felt as if his senior brother had been cheated on. It's disgusting. Han Xiao took a bite and immediately lost interest. At this moment, the white tiger walked in front of Han Xiao and stared at the beef in his hand. Seeing this, Han Xiao threw the beef on the ground. The white tiger shook its snow-white tail and swallowed the beef in one bite. However, the white tiger spat out the beef in 2 breaths' time. "It can't be." Tang Lang untied his apron and looked a little embarrassed. Ningxi, at the same time in Deer Town. An old European man with a walking stick looked at the middle-aged black man behind him and said calmly, "Yorick, did it go well?" The black man was expressionless. "Just some trash. It seems that the guards here are very ordinary. Don't be careless. Since the higher-ups sent us out, it's probably not that simple," the old European man said. Both of them were assassins ranked at the very top of the original Sin assassin list. The people Qiao he sent out are all useless. The black man, known as Yorick, used a piece of paper to wipe the blood off his hands. If the European emperor's power did not want to dominate Asia, why would he have taken a liking to Qiao, a middleman? He can't even handle such a small matter and still needs us to take action. What a joke. Yorick squatted down and wiped the dust off his leather shoes. It's better to be careful. We can't fail the mission. The Caucasian old man chuckled and walked toward the garden. About half an hour later, in front of the garden house, Yorick pulled out a submachine gun. "Yorick, don't be so rude. We're here to visit," the old man said. Yorick shrugged and put away his submachine gun. "Is anyone there?" The old man knocked on the door politely. Soon, Ningxi opened the door. Staring at the amiable old man in front of her, Ningxi was a little confused. "Hello, please forgive me for disturbing you." The old man looked at Ningxi and smiled. "You are?" Ningxi asked. "What do you want?" Tang Lang walked over with half a piece of watermelon in his arms. "Hello, may I ask if this lady is Miss Ningxi?" The old European man smiled. "I'm Ningxi," Ningxi said. "Hello, Miss Ningxi," the old man said. "Do you have any last words?" As he spoke, the old European man took out a scalpel from his pocket, and the smile on his face became even more amiable. Chapter 1987. The old European man in front of her suddenly took out an extremely sharp scalpel, and Ningxi subconsciously stepped back. No matter how slow her reaction was, she knew that the Caucasian old man and the black man beside him were assassins. "You're Dr. Death, one of the top 10 killers on the list." Tang Lang furrowed his brows. "Young man, you know me?" The Caucasian old man asked with a smile. Tang Lang sucked in a mouthful of cold air when he saw the old man admitting his identity. Dr. Death was the old man's nickname. The Caucasian old man in front of him was famous among the underground forces in Europe and America. When he was young, he was an extremely famous surgeon. Later on, the Caucasian old man used his scalpel to cut off the heads of his wife and daughter. He was a complete pervert. Since then, he became an assassin, and the outside world gave him the nickname of Dr. Death. Tang Lang's heart skipped a beat. Since this old European man was Dr. Death, the black man next to him should be his partner, Yorick, who is ranked 7th on the Cardinal Sin Killer leaderboard, and also known as the germaphobe. To be able to get 2 of the top 10 killers on the list to come to China to assassinate him, he must be from Europe's side. Do the 2 of you have any last words? If not, we can start now. Dr. Death smiled. At this moment, Tang Lang widened his eyes and shouted, "Grandpa, someone didn't give you face and came to challenge us." Soon, Han Xiao walked toward the door with a chicken drumstick in his hand. Wearing Ningxi's slippers, Han Xiao's mouth was full of grease. "Old thing, don't run if you have the guts. My grandpa is here, just you wait." Tang Lang's serious face finally disappeared when he saw Han Xiao walking toward him in slippers. He began to eat the remaining watermelon in his hand. "Who is it?" Han Xiao walked toward Ningxi. "It's this old black man and this old fart." As Tang Lang ate the watermelon, he pointed at Dr. Death and Yorick, the misophobic ripper. "Who are you?" Han Xiao took a piece of watermelon from Tang Lang's hand and asked while eating. Ningxi was completely speechless when she saw Tang Lang and Han Xiao. "These are the top 10 killers on the list. Can't you guys give them some face? Can't you give me some face?" After seeing Han Xiao's appearance, the frenzied look in the old man's eyes instantly disappeared. Yorick, in particular, quickly put away his submachine gun. A fawning smile suddenly appeared on his originally cold face. "Ayo, Master Xiao, why is it you?" Yorick's forehead was covered in cold sweat. "This is the higher-ups playing some kind of international joke." No one told them that the freak Han Xiao was here. Who are you? Han Xiao asked while eating a melon. Master Xiao, look at your memory. I'm Yorick. Yorick hurriedly smiled apologetically. Oh, Han Xiao thought for a moment, but couldn't recall anything. In the past, I was blind enough to offend you. You were magnanimous and broke one of my legs. Later, my friend reattached it. Yorick looked at the old European man beside him. About 2 years ago, he and Dr. Death accepted an assassination mission and met Han Xiao on the way. In the end, he was almost beaten to death by Han Xiao. Yorick's leg was broken, and it was reattached by Dr. Death. What do you mean by pointing a scalpel at me? Han Xiao looked at the old European man. Oh, The old European man's body trembled. Then, he immediately swept his chin with the scalpel. Master Xiao, don't misunderstand. I'm shaving. Chapter 1988. I need a shave. I haven't shaved for a few days. It's uncomfortable. The old man shook his head as he moved the sharp scalpel under his chin. Your chin is bleeding. Tang Lang blinked as he ate the watermelon. Oh, it's okay. It's just a small problem. The old man raised his hand and wiped the blood off with his sleeve. Do you want me to shave it for you? Han Xiao asked. No. The old man shook his head. Don't mention it. Han Xiao threw the watermelon skin at Yorick's face. Seeing that Yorick was in a daze, Han Xiao frowned and asked, Is there a problem? No problem at all. I don't know where the watermelon skin came from. It's just a small problem. Yorick said. Han Xiao shrugged his shoulders and took the scalpel from the old European man. Stand still and don't move. Otherwise, it'll be cut. After Han Xiao finished speaking, he helped the old man shave his beard. After shaving his beard, Han Xiao did not stop. He shaved off all the hair on the old man's head, making him bald. Grandpa, why did you shave off his eyebrows? Tang Lang asked. It's cool. Han Xiao replied. Is it cool? Han Xiao asked the old European-American man. Cool. It's really cool. The old man nodded, afraid that he would offend this pervert. Han Xiao was satisfied and walked to Yorick's side with the scalpel. Without any explanation, Yorick's thick beard, eyebrows, and hair were also shaved clean. Is it cool? Han Xiao looked at Yorick and asked with a smile. It's cool. Sorry to trouble you, Grandpa Xiao. I've been wanting to die for a long time. It's so comfortable. Yorick had a fawning smile on his face. Thank you. $500 each. Han Xiao stretched out his hand. Yorick and the old European man came back to their senses and quickly searched their bodies. Grandpa Xiao, I don't have any money with me. I only have 400. Yorick and the old man took out all the dollars they had and handed them to Han Xiao. You owe me 100. You owe me 200. Han Xiao thought for a moment and said, How about this? We'll calculate it according to the interest rate of Chinese banks. Don't forget to return it to me when the time comes. Han Xiao put the $700 into his pocket. Okay. Master Xiao, we still have something to do, so we'll take our leave first. We'll bring you the money later. Yorick pulled the old European and American man who was stunned on the spot. He wished that his parents had given him a few more legs. He almost rolled and crawled out of the small building in the garden. Brat, buy more watermelon and meat. Han Xiao threw $700 to Tang Lang. All right, Grandpa. Tang Lang nodded. Ning, she stood at the side and was completely convinced. She was completely convinced. He shaved off the eyebrows, hair, and beards of the top 10 killers on the Deadly Sins ranking board, and even extorted $700 from them. In the end, Tang Lang was asked to buy watermelon and meat, $700. How much watermelon and meat would that be? Ning, she finally understood that Han Xiao was a complete idiot when it came to life. Grandpa, why did you let them go? You might as well kill them. Tang Lang put the money into his pocket and stared at Han Xiao with a smile. Kill them? Han Xiao was stunned. He stared at Tang Lang in confusion. Who are they? Hearing this, Tang Lang and Ning, she almost vomited 3 liters of blood. In the end, shaving off their hair still cost $700. In the end, Han Xiao didn't even know who they were or what they were here for. Suddenly, Ning Shi's heart ached for the two killers. It really wasn't easy. Chapter 1989. Xiao, he listened to the angry voice on the other end of the line. You fucking bastard. Don't you know who's in Deer Town? How dare you ask the higher-ups to assign us a mission? Yorick was furious. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Get someone to send $300 over. If anything happens, you'll be dead. Yorick hung up the phone after he finished speaking. Xiao, he was completely baffled. He had no idea what Yorick was angry about. What was with the $300? Besides, this mission had been assigned to them by Lucky Emperor. What did it have to do with him? But no matter what, Xiao, he was not an idiot. If even Dr. Death and Yorick could not be taken care of, Lu Tingxiao must have hired Master. Don't tell me. We have to use that person? Feng Jin frowned. Xiao, he fell silent. The person Feng Jin was talking about was not well known in the world, but he was the most powerful assassin in Lucky Emperor's faction. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was the best in the world. Xiao, he had no choice but to contact Lucky Emperor's faction again and ask them to send more powerful assassins. Xiao Yi, are you saying that you want us to use Xiao Zhan? A deep voice came out. If Xiao Zhan is willing to do it, everything will be fine. Xiao Yi smiled. Then you should know that Xiao Zhan was seriously injured when he tried to assassinate Han Xiao. He's still recuperating. Han Xiao. Xiao Yi was stunned when he heard Han Zhao's name. Although he had never met Han Xiao in person, Han Zhao's great name resounded like thunder in his ears. Back then, Lucky Emperor's youngest daughter had been betrothed to Han Xiao. But Han Xiao did not buy it and eventually broke off with Lucky Emperor. Over the years, Lucky Emperor's faction had sent a large number of top assassins to assassinate Han Xiao, but none of them had returned alive. Xiao, he had heard of Han Xiao. It was said that he was a genius from a hidden family. He was so powerful that he was beyond the comprehension of the secular world. Xiao Zhan survived? Xiao Yi asked. In Xiao Yi's mind, Han Xiao and the word invincible were equal. Most probably, only the legendary Qin Wentian would be able to fight against Han Xiao. People like them were already legendary. No matter how powerful Xiao Zhan was, he was still only at the secular level. Han Xiao almost lost his life. Unfortunately, the gloomy voice sighed. Xiao Zhan's assassination techniques could be said to be the best in the world. Even Han Xiao had nearly fallen into his trap. Xiao Zhan is indeed formidable. Xiao, he could not help but sigh. He was only a step away from assassinating Han Xiao. This was practically a miracle. Even though he had failed at the last moment, he had at least managed to injure Han Xiao. Xiao, let me tell you, you were called just now. Do you know who's in charge of the Liu family? The person on the other end of the line said. Who is it? Xiao, he asked anxiously. Han Xiao. What? Xiao Yi gasped in horror. The one in Deer Town was Han Xiao. How is this possible? What relationship did Han Xiao and Lu Tingxiao have with Ning Shi? Why would they help Ning Shi and the others in Deer Town? Xiao, he had no idea that Lu Tingxiao and Ning Shi were acquainted with Han Xiao. That's enough. No matter how powerful an assassin is, it's useless. Do you know that even the #1 assassin of the original sin, Li Suifeng, was easily killed by Han Xiao? No wonder Yorick and the others were complaining. Let Xiao Zhan go this time. Having said that, the person hung up without giving Xiao Yi a chance to speak. Chapter 1990. Deer Town. The night was dark and there was no moon in the sky. On the sofa, Ning Shi was covered with a blanket and nestled in Lu Tingxiao's arms. She held a game controller in her hand and was playing a game with Tang Lang. Han Xiao was squatting there eating watermelon, and the big white tiger was dozing off at his feet. These days, they were originally anxiously waiting for the assassin's sneak attacks, but in the end, it was forcibly turned into a vacation by them. She had spent so many days cuddling with Lu Tingxiao at home for nothing. It was simply too comfortable. After Han Xiao finished eating the watermelon, he threw the watermelon skin into the trash can and stared at the 3 people on the sofa. Then, Han Xiao stood up, walked forward, and directly turned off the game controller. Grandpa, what are you doing? I can kill Tang Xiaoxi soon. Tang Lang complained. Ning, she was speechless. Dream on. It was the Almighty who saved you. Go to sleep, all of you. Close the door tightly, Han Xiao said. Hearing this, Tang Lang was stunned. Ning Shi and Lu Tingxiao looked at each other thoughtfully. These days, it was the first time they heard Han Xiao speak in such a tone. Perhaps the assassins tonight were not simple? Let's go to sleep. Tang Lang was not worried at all. He was unusually confident in a certain pervert, so he directly put on his slippers and jogged all the way to the bedroom. Ning, she glanced at Lu Tingxiao, who gave her a reassuring look and held her hand as they went upstairs. Han Xiao never said anything meaningless. Since he wanted them to sleep, they could cooperate. After Ning Shi and the others went upstairs and turned off the lights in the living room, Han Xiao lay on the sofa. The night was quiet until the second half of the night. A skinny man, like a ghost, appeared in the small building in the garden. The door was tightly shut. No one knew when this man came here. It was as if this thin man had been hiding in this building for a long time. Han Xiao, you were lucky last time. Tonight, you will die. The thin man muttered in his heart, his eyes emotionless. He took out a dagger from his chest, walked to the sofa, and stared at Han Xiao, who was sleeping soundly. A few days ago, the thin man went to China to assassinate Han Xiao and almost succeeded. Tonight, no matter what, he must let Han Xiao die in his hands. The skinny man took out a dagger that glinted with a cold light from his bosom. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, he thrust the dagger toward Han Xiao's heart. At the same time, Han Xiao suddenly opened his eyes and raised his right arm. Pa! Han Xiao grabbed the thin man's wrist. What? Seeing this, the skinny man froze in place, his face filled with disbelief. Xiao Zhan, it's already so late. Is there something you need from me? Han Xiao stared at the thin man and asked expressionlessly. Impossible. How did you find me? Xiao Zhan's face was filled with disbelief. Well, why do you think I let Yorick and the others go? The corners of Han Xiao's mouth rose slightly. After Yorick and Dr. Death left, they would definitely tell the European forces that he was in Deer Town. Knowing that he was in Deer Town, Lucky Emperor's faction would definitely send Xiao Zhan to assassinate him. Han Xiao had long since been on guard, so how could he possibly repeat the same mistake? The last time he was tricked by this brat, he had wanted to catch him for a long time. Xiao Zhan, your assassination skills are indeed not bad. However, even if your master sees me, he has to be polite and follow the rules. But you're so naughty. Han Xiao exerted strength in his right arm, grabbed Xiao Zhan's arm, and instantly threw him out. Bang! A loud sound echoed in the small building in the garden. Continue to ask for votes. Thank you, everyone. Chapter 1991. The loud noise instantly alerted the three people upstairs. Ning Shi and the others hurriedly walked out of their respective bedrooms and looked toward the hall. Whoosh! As Xiao Zhan was thrown out, he kicked the wall with both feet. Unwilling to give up, he stabbed the dagger in his hand toward Han Xiao's heart. Right at this moment, Han Xiao lightly flicked his finger and tapped Xiao Zhan's right wrist. Xiao Zhan immediately let out a scream of agony. The dagger flew out of his hand and landed in the distance. Xiao Zhan, you were naughty last time. This time, I'll beat you to death. The corner of Han Xiao's mouth curled up slightly, forming a devilish smile. Then he grabbed Xiao Zhan's neck. At this critical moment, Han Xiao turned his head and asked the three people at the staircase, what should we do with this thing? Grandpa, beat this grandson to death. Tang Lang shouted. Ning Shi blinked. Oh, I don't mind. Lu Tingxiao immediately echoed. Agreed. Han Xiao was stunned for a moment. He stared at the three people in surprise. You guys, why are you so cruel? You kill people at the drop of a hat. Will he kill me one day when he wants to kill me as well? The moment he said that, there was a crack. Xiao Zhan's neck had been crushed by Han Xiao. Han Xiao was shocked. He stared at the dead Xiao Zhan, then at the three people upstairs. How'd he die? You guys killed him? Upstairs. Tang Lang's mouth twitched. Grandpa, you killed him, right? I killed him? Are you sure? Han Xiao asked. Tang Lang's face darkened. If I'm not wrong, you killed him, Grandpa, Ningxi, I'm sure you killed him. You crushed his neck. How cruel. I didn't expect you to be such a god. I was wrong about you. Lu Tingxiao, you probably killed him. Huh. I think my hand slipped. I didn't do it on purpose. Han Xiao stared at the dead Xiao Zhan and said, Tang Lang, Ningxi, Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi glared at Han Xiao and rolled her eyes. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone as shameless as Han Xiao. She clearly remembered the grudge from last time and purposely crushed the thin man to death. Now, she was pretending to be innocent. The most shameless thing was that Han Xiao not only refused to admit that he had killed someone, but also tried to pin the blame on them, insisting that they were the ones who killed the person. They were standing on the second floor. What the hell did they use to kill people? Their thoughts. God, Han Xiao is really shameless. What do you guys think? Ningxi smiled at Tang Lang and Lu Tingxiao. Tang Lang said, Third junior sister, don't be so rude. Don't talk about my grandfather like that. Be careful that I don't fall out with you. Although my grandfather is shameless, he's invincible. My grandfather is invincible in this world, and it's not without reason. Lu Tingxiao, it's all right. I want to eat watermelon. Han Xiao didn't care about their ridicule and sat down on the sofa. Grandpa, I understand. Tang Lang dashed into the living room, took out a large iced watermelon from the fridge, and handed it to Han Xiao. After that, he dragged Xiao Zhan's corpse out. Ningxi went downstairs and cut the watermelon. With stars in her eyes, she handed the watermelon to Han Xiao. God, you deliberately let that assassin Yorick and Dr. Death go today, right? It was to lure out the guy who tried to assassinate you. Ningxi asked. Yorick. Han Xiao stared at Ningxi blankly. Who is it, Ningxi? Chapter 1992. Han Xiao yawned, then snapped his fingers in the direction of the house. The white tiger sauntered out of the house and walked to Han Xiao's side. I'm leaving. Han Xiao waved at the three of them as he walked out of the house. Ningxi froze. Almighty, you're leaving? Didn't you say I could leave if no assassins dare to come? Han Xiao said with a, are you trying to screw me over again, expression. Tang Lang nodded. Grandpa is right. Xiao Zhan is already a top tier. Even Xiao Zhan died here. Unless someone was crazy, they wouldn't take the job and come here to die. After spending so much time together, Ningxi felt a little lost when she suddenly had to part ways. It's so late. Why don't you have supper before you leave? Han Xiao turned back without hesitation. Okay. Ningxi was speechless. Ningxi's sorrow of parting instantly disappeared. Late at night. Sweetheart, will you be okay? Ningxi laid on the bed, unable to fall asleep. You have no confidence in me? The man's deep voice rang above her head. Ningxi pounced on him and gave him a kiss. Of course. Lu Tingxiao kissed the top of her head. Focus on your own things and take care of your body. What was left was his battlefield. After Han Xiao left, no more assassins came to Deer Town. Everything returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. Apart from that, a few days later, Deer Town gained an extremely adorable pure white tiger cub. As for the outside world, after the other party knew assassinations wouldn't work, they changed their direction. In a short period of time, the entire Asian economy and underground forces surged. Lu Tingxiao became unusually busy, and Ningxi's career returned to its peak, like the sun in the sky. Dash, Wild E, time reversal, you at your most beautiful. On the big screen in the central square, with the largest flow of people in the capital, Ningxi is lying in a cluster of flowers like the Garden of Eden. Her skin is so delicate without any makeup. The dreamy scene made passers-by stop in their tracks. Damn, Ningxi's skin was so good. I heard she didn't put on any makeup when she shot the commercial. I've seen Ningxi up close. She's even more exaggerated than in the commercial. The words time reversal are too apt. I can't believe they managed to get Ningxi to be their spokesperson. I feel like Wildy is getting more and more pretentious. I've always been using bosses' families. Once I get my salary, I'm going to buy a set of Wildy to try. Wildy Company Building. You did a good job this time. In the video conference, the CEO of China praised him in a good mood. This time, not only did Wildy's products surpass SS in the Chinese market, but they also increased their sales in the United States. Parker looked at the sales figures for the latest quarter and listened to his boss's praises. He was beaming with joy. After being suppressed by the boss for so many years, he could finally wipe away his shame. It was a wise decision to replace Liu Xiaoro and choose Ning Shi. Who would have thought that Ning Shi's momentum would be so fierce after a comeback? She suppressed Han Zixuan to the point that she couldn't fight back and instantly pulled up Wildy's status. One had to know that signing a rising artist was countless times more profitable than simply signing a popular artist. After Parker finished the video conference with the higher-ups, he immediately called Su Tao to get in touch with him and invited Ning Shi to Wildy's fashion dinner. Chapter 1993. Starlight Entertainment. Wang Haojun looked at the complicated data on the computer screen and felt a splitting headache. Flourishing Age Entertainment's market share was catching up with Starshine at an alarming rate, and its stock price had been rising. As for Han Zixuan, Starlight's side was powerless to reverse the situation. As soon as he acted in Under the Heavens, Ning Shi destroyed his show. Starry Night was directly slaughtered. The Hollywood blockbuster that he had painstakingly obtained became a foil for Ning Shi. Even the endorsement for SS skincare product advertisement was crushed by Ning Shi's endorsement of Wildy. Cheng Yibin, Liu Xiaoro, what the hell are you doing? If I remember correctly, wasn't Xiaoro supposed to be the spokesperson for Wildy? How did it become Ning Shi in the end? There were so many things to do in the company. It was impossible for him to keep an eye on everything. By the time he found out, it was already too late. Not only did she lose an A-list spokesperson, but she also caused Han Zixuan to be suppressed once again. Liu Xiaoro was furious, but she didn't dare to say anything. She could only bear it with a wronged expression. Cheng Yibin wiped the sweat off his forehead and said with a flattering expression, "So, Wang, you really can't blame me for this. Originally, we were going to sign the contract that day. Who knew that Su Tao and Ning Shi would intercept us midway? I had no choice. I guess Su Tao is taking revenge on Xiaoro for jumping ship. This is completely caused by their personal conflict. It really has nothing to do with me." Liu Xiaoro looked at her agent in disbelief. She was so angry that she almost burst into tears. This endorsement was agreed upon before I joined the company. Why did everything go well before I joined the company? Why did everything go wrong after I joined the company? How could this be my fault? Cheng Yibin's face immediately darkened. Xiaoro, what do you mean by this? Are you saying that I ruined your endorsement deal? Liu Xiaoro couldn't bear it anymore. She cried and scolded on the spot. Qin Shuang, who she had ridiculed in the past, was now promoted step by step. Cheng Yibin, don't go too far. You know very well how you treated me after I came to Starlight. Instead of fighting for resources for me, I only know how to drink with others all day. You want me to sleep with an old man just for a stupid second-tier endorsement? What's wrong with sleeping with him? In this line of work, who didn't sleep with someone? Are you the only one who thinks highly of yourself? I asked you to sleep with me to fight for more resources for you. You all right? Both of you shut up. Look at this. After kicking out Cheng Yibin and Liu Xiaoro, who were quarreling endlessly, Wang Haojun's headache worsened. Now he could only pin his hopes on Su Yan. In the evening, Su Yan finally arrived. Wang Haojun quickly went to the door and welcomed him in. "Mr. Su, you're here. Please take a seat." Su Yan nodded and sat down on the sofa. "What happened?" Wang Haojun looked embarrassed. "President Su, you must know the recent situation of our company. Ning Shi's comeback has a greater impact on our company. I asked you to come here to discuss with you whether there is any solution." Su Yan's eyes flickered. "Since you can't suppress it, why not extend an olive branch?" Wang Haojun was surprised. "President Su, do you mean to poach Ning Shi? Why not?" Su Yan asked. Wang Haojun looked troubled. "Ahem, President Su, you know about the entanglement between Ning Shi and us. Back then, Ning Shi was forced to leave by Starlight. How could she be willing to come back now? Even if Ning Shi is willing, I'm afraid it won't be easy to explain to Shui Luo." Chapter 1994. Don't worry about Shui Luo. I'll talk to Ning Shi myself, Su Yin said, his voice slightly tense. Wang Haojuan's eyes lit up when he heard that. It would be great if Mr. Su could do it. As long as Ning Shi is willing to come, we can promise to give her the best resources of the company, set up her own studio, and her agent can come with her. Even though Golden Era had been growing rapidly, they were still no match for Starlight. If Su Yin were to personally negotiate with them, their chances of winning were very high. The next day, Su Tao rushed into Liang Feixing's office furiously. Wang Haojuan, I'll fuck him. Liang Feixing raised an eyebrow. I didn't expect you to have such a heavy taste. I'm not joking. I just got the news that Wang Haojuan wants to poach my Ningxi. Oh, poach Ningxi? Liang Feixing heard this and revealed a rather subtle expression. Damn it. What should he do now? What if the queen was really poached away? Now I don't want to live either. Su Tao's expression was as if he would kill himself if Ningxi left. The corners of Liang Feixing's mouth twitched. Can you calm down? Do you think Ningxi is that kind of person? Of course not, Ningxi. It's mainly because Wang Haojuan has too many dirty tricks. So many of the seedlings that I've raised have been poached away one by one. Do you know that I'm already traumatized? Su Tao broke down. Liang Feixing said in a relaxed tone, Don't worry. It's impossible for Ningxi to be poached. Why are you so sure? Su Tao's eyes were filled with tears. This guy now regarded Ning Shi as more important than his own life. In addition, he had been betrayed by his artists so many times before, so he must have been traumatized. Liang Feixing rolled his eyes speechlessly as he looked at that fellow's resentful expression, as if he was afraid of being abandoned. Of course, Ning Shi was not only an artist of Shengshe Entertainment, but also the owner of Shengshe Entertainment. Have you ever heard of someone poaching the lady boss away? Anyway, just trust me and focus on your work. Don't think too much, Liang Feixing said. Su Tao still had a look of resentment on his face. If Her Majesty abandons me, will you take responsibility? Yes. If you're abandoned, I'll take responsibility for you, okay? Get lost. I still have things to do. Liang Feixing spoke until his lips were about to break, before he finally sent the noisy Su Tao away. At the Wildy fashion dinner, Ning Shi was invited to attend. Halfway through, she was taking a breather in the small garden. She didn't expect to meet Su Yin, whom she hadn't seen for a long time. Su Yin hadn't looked for her since their last encounter at Imperial Capital University. This result was within Ning Shi's expectation. Su Yin was no match for Ning Xuelua. It was said that Su Yin was in charge of Starlight during this period of time, and the reason was that Ning Xuelua was not feeling well. She knew Ning Xuelua too well. Nothing could make her give up her power, unless the night was as cold as water. Ning Shi was wearing a silver-white dress, and her ink-black hair was tied up in a loose bun at the back of her head. She sat on the swing with a glass of red wine in her hand. The scene in front of him was too beautiful to be real. Su Yan's heart beat wildly. Xiao Si, as if worried that the person in front of him would avoid him again, he hurriedly said, Xiao Si, I'm here for business. Business? Ning Shi tilted her head slightly, and there was a hint of drunkenness in her misty eyes. She was obviously innocent, but as seductive as a fairy in the dark night. Chapter 1995. Su Yin felt his throat go dry. He took a deep breath to calm himself down and said, Xiao Si, come to Starlight. Ning Shi raised her eyebrows slightly when she heard Su Yan's words. She didn't expect that Su Yin was here to poach her. Su Yan's eyes were filled with gentleness. Xiao Shi, you've been through too much all these years. Although you're doing well now, no matter how much the Golden Era values you, you and the Golden Era are still bound by their interests. If you come to Starlight, at least I can take care of you. Or, if you're tired from work and want to rest, you don't have to work so hard. Ning Shi chuckled. President Su, are you saying that you want to take care of me? Su Yan's face changed, and he hurriedly said, Xiao Si, that's not what I mean. I just want to take care of you. President Su, please take care of Ning Xuelua and her son. I won't bother you. The moment Ning Shi's voice fell, Su Yan's face suddenly turned as white as a sheet. You know, Su Yan looked at the girl in front of him eagerly and explained, Xiaoxi, I'm not lying to you. As soon as I got back, I asked my lawyer to draft the divorce agreement. I made an appointment with Shuo that day to make it clear to her, but it was that night. Shu suddenly fainted and was sent to the hospital, and then found out that she was pregnant. Under those circumstances, I really couldn't talk to her. I know I've disappointed you again. Xiaoxi, please wait for me. Give me a little more time, okay? After saying that, Su Yan nervously looked at the girl, only to find that the girl's eyes were slightly closed and her head was quietly leaning against the rope of the swing. She seemed to be asleep. This scene, Su Yan couldn't help but walk towards the girl as if he was bewitched. Just as his hand was about to touch the girl, someone suddenly came out from the side, blocked Su Yan's hand, and stood in front of Ningxi. Jiang Mai's eyes were full of ice. President Su, you're a married man. I'm afraid this is not appropriate. The words married man made Su Yan's face darken. Xiaoxi is drunk. Please ask her assistant to come over and take care of her. Jiang Mai sneered. What does it have to do with you? With that, he glared at Ningxi, who was sleeping soundly, and helped her up. Wretched girl, not even the slightest bit of vigilance. Ningxi, who was pulled up, opened her eyes in a daze. Golden retriever, didn't I tell you to drink less? Are you courting death by drinking so much wine? Jiang Mai roared. Ningxi pinched her eyebrows. I only drank 1 cup. After the vegetative person woke up, her body had almost recovered. Of course, there were still some side effects. She found that her alcohol tolerance had decreased sharply, and she actually passed out after 1 glass. Jiang Mai quickly helped her out of the small garden and complained angrily. Do you know that Su Zaga almost took advantage of you just now? Thanks. Of course you have to thank me. You must have burned incense in your past life to have such a good ex-boyfriend like me. If you compare me to those scum again, I won't let you off. Of course not. You are my eldest nephew. Say it again. What am I to you? Do you think I won't leave you here? Brother, don't tell my sweetheart about what happened today. You only know your sweetheart. Chapter 1996. These days, Ningxi found that there seemed to be something wrong with Su Tao. He had been circling around her, asking about her well-being, serving tea, and pouring water. Although Su Tao had always been very good to her before, these days he was obviously looking for trouble, and several times he looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. Ningxi had no choice but to ask him directly, Brother Tao, what's wrong with you? If you have something to say, just say it. Su Tao dawdled for a long time before he opened his mouth with a sad face. Queen, you won't abandon me, right? Why do you say that? Ningxi was puzzled. It's that bastard Wang Haojuan. He's actually a toad, lusting after a swan's flesh, and wants to dig out your starlight. Su Tao was furious. Ningxi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You said that he wants to eat swan meat. Why would I go to him? But I still don't feel safe. At this time, Liang Feixing pushed the door and came in, grabbed Su Tao's collar, and pulled him aside. You're so old. Why are you acting like a spoiled child? I have goosebumps. Didn't I tell you not to bother Ningxi? Go to work. After that, he turned to Ningxi and said, Ningxi, don't bother with this guy. His period is coming, and his mood is abnormal. Ningxi said helplessly, Brother Tao, rest assured, Su Yan did look for me last night, but I have already refused. Fuck, that bastard is really shameless. He even brought up Su Yan. Su Tao was half dead with anger. However, hearing that Ningxi had already refused, the big stone in Su Tao's heart finally fell down, and happily wagged his tail and began to work. Queen, I will pick you up to attend the anniversary celebration of the Imperial Capital TV station. I don't know when my afternoon work will end. Anyway, my program is at the end, so it doesn't matter. Brother Tao, you take Qin Shuang to prepare first, and after I finish here, you can go directly. Ningxi said. Okay. Su Tao was completely resurrected at this moment. The goddess is too understanding, isn't she? At night, Su Tao rushed to the station with Qin Shuang. After arriving at the place, The two entered the designated dressing room. As soon as he entered, he found that there was already someone inside. Only then did Su Tao realize that he had entered the wrong room. Inside the room, In Yu had brought along her agent, 2 assistants, a makeup artist, a stylist, and 2 bodyguards. A large group of people were helping In Yu with her makeup. Ever since she had jumped to Starlight, In Yu had been paying extra attention to the way she looked when she went out. She was afraid that others would not know how well she had been doing after jumping to another company. One of In Yu's assistant with a sharp chin saw that there were outsiders coming in, and on the spot scolded Su Tao and Qin Shuang, who allowed you to come in casually. This is Yu's exclusive dressing room. After Su Tao learned that he had gone the wrong way, he was going to leave with Qin Shuang. At this moment, enemies are on a narrow road. Looking at the little assistant with a sharp chin, he suddenly sneered, "Oh, exclusive dressing room? Your name is written on it?" The little assistant looked at Su Tao, who was opposite him, and suddenly his face was full of ridicule. "Su Tao, you were a gold medal agent in the past. Although you fell so low that you almost slept on the street, you can't really be like a scoundrel, right?" The little assistant who spoke was the one who slapped Su Tao in the bar and humiliated him on the spot. Later, this matter was exposed by various entertainment newspapers, making Su Tao ridiculed by everyone in the industry. The former gold medal agent was actually slapped in the face by a little assistant in public. Chapter 1997. Afterwards, it was also because of this matter that she was now very valued by In Yu. Obviously, In Yu was very satisfied with what she had done at that time. Therefore, now that there was such a good opportunity to perform, this little assistant naturally would not miss it. I'm afraid that the one who is really down to sleep on the street is someone else, right? Su Tao deliberately glanced in In Yu's direction and faintly said. Hearing this, In Yu, who was sitting in front of the dressing table, suddenly stiffened and her face changed. Su Tao was obviously mocking her. A year ago, when she was at her most destitute, she really slept on the street. Later, she was picked up by Su Tao and became a superstar in Changshu. The little assistant also heard about In Yu's past and knew that In Yu must be very unhappy now. She immediately rushed to the front of the two. "I said that this is Yu's exclusive dressing room. Can't the dog understand human words?" At this time, the staff of the TV station outside heard the movement inside and hurried over. "Excuse me, what happened?" A middle-aged man with a beard and a young female staff came in. The little assistant with a sharp chin saw the people coming and immediately complained. "Director Chun, this is Yu's exclusive dressing room. Every time Yu comes, she uses this room alone. The others are too small and can't be squeezed at all. However, these 2 people are like scoundrels. They insist on staying here and not leaving. They want to rob our Yu's dressing room." The director looked at In Yu, who was wearing a gorgeous dress and makeup, and then looked at Qin Shuang and Su Tao. He suddenly had a headache. In their line of work, they generally picked up the soft persimmon to pinch, and In Yu was famous in the circle for not being easy to deal with. On the other hand, although Qin Shuang became popular overnight and the limelight was fierce, her position was still completely incomparable to In Yu. They were not in the same rank at all. It was really unnecessary to offend In Yu for Qin Shuang. After a short period of deliberation, the director had already thought about it. He lightly coughed and turned to Su Tao and Qin Shuang. "This dressing room is indeed Miss Yin's exclusive dressing room. Why don't the 2 of you follow me to another place?" The little assistant with a sharp chin heard that Director Chun was still standing on their side in the end, and suddenly his face was full of pride. "Did you hear that?" Qin Shuang didn't want to trouble Su Tao, so she whispered to Su Tao, "Brother Tao, forget it. Let's go somewhere else." Su Tao did not speak, but his face was unusually gloomy. Seeing that the 2 of them were not moving, the assistant said impatiently, "Our Yu's program is about to start. Can you afford to be late?" Originally, it wasn't a big deal, but this little assistant just had to make a fuss about it. It was clear that she was deliberately embarrassing them. Senarischan looked at the time and realized that they were running out of time, so he couldn't care less. He said in a slightly tough tone, "Please leave, both of you. Please don't disturb the other artistes who are preparing to go on stage." The little assistant gave the two bodyguards a look and then mocked in a shrill voice, "Get out of here. You brought along a minor character who became famous overnight, yet you still have the nerve to act like a big shot and fight with our Yu for the dressing room. Where did you get the face to do that?" As they spoke, the two bodyguards had already walked towards them, wanting to forcefully chase them away. At this time, behind Su Tao and Qin Shuang, a faint voice came from the door. "So, I am an 18 line small cameo. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.